has just been, not good.
I'm so upset. Oh my God.
The guy!
Turks, Jake Huger, and experience with you guys. Big show ahead, of course. So we've got a lot of updates on what's happening with ICE and Border Patrol. The backpedal has begun. That is good news. Unfortunately, some are not backpedaling away. Megyn Kelly with some unfortunate comments we'll rip into a little bit later. And then we've got the usual international news. Just when you think Israel can't get worse, they're like, hold my Manischewitz. Okay, because we're about to do something that is pure evil. So that we have that a little bit later in the show. And then Democrats backpedaling. So there's tons of stuff that's going on here, okay? So Casper, what do you got for us?
I got a lot of stuff. You ready for it?
No, I think I am.
I don't think you're ready.
No, I think I am.
All right, well, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to find out. All right, let's get to our first story because we are learning some more details about Alex Pretti and his previous interactions with federal agents. So we're now learning that Alex Pretti had a violent encounter with federal agents a week prior to Border Patrol agents shooting and killing him as he was on the scene of an ICE operation, simply filming it with his cell phone. Now, we all know about this because sources have spoken to CNN to let them know that federal immigration officers have in fact been collecting personal information about protesters in Minneapolis, and they are keeping that information in some sort of database. In other words, the federal government appears to believe that they are at war with the American people who are practicing their First Amendment rights. Now, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about this, Cenk. Give me your 2 cents.
Okay, yeah, number one, there's a little bit of irony here because we're getting a lot of folks, including on the left, to root for local law enforcement. And unfortunately, the federal government is blocking some of the investigations that the state cops want to do. And then I'm going to explain to you guys after Annie gives you the facts, what is the law and what is normal and what is abnormal. And there is actually plenty of things that they're doing that isn't still in the normal category, but we'll tell you what's in the abnormal category.
All right, so let's actually begin with what we know about Pretti's previous encounter with federal agents, which again took place a week prior to him getting shot and killed by Border Patrol agents. So it is unclear how Pretti first came to the attention of federal authorities, but sources told CNN that about a week before his death, he suffered a broken rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting their attempt to detain other individuals. So he has been obviously involved in these demonstrations in Minneapolis. And when we look into, well, what was that encounter like? Like what fueled this interaction between Pretti and the federal agents? This is what CNN reports. The earlier incident started when he stopped his car after observing ICE agents chasing what he described as a family on foot and began shouting and blowing his whistle, according to a source who asked not to be named out of fear of retribution. Pretti later told the source that 5 agents tackled him and 1 leaned on his back, an encounter that left him with a broken rib. The agents quickly released him at the scene. Pretti was later given medication consistent with treating a broken rib, according to records reviewed by CNN. Now, CNN, of course, reached out to DHS asking about documentation of this interaction with Pretti. They claim that no such documentation exists. I'm gonna get back to the topic of the federal agents collecting personal information about protesters in just a minute, but A question you might have is, well, is it considered legal for the demonstrators to blow whistles loudly to alert others, potentially those who are undocumented, that ICE is on the scene and that they should, stay away? I did look into this, our team looked into this, and legal experts seem to have a consensus here and agree that it is considered protected under the First Amendment. I'll give you a few examples. This is a quote from attorney Tracy Roy, and this is in the Minnesota Star Tribune. Physically intervening with ICE activity or obstructing justice is illegal, but whistles are considered a protected form of free speech. Here's another statement. If you're in a public space using whistles to signal that law enforcement officers are present and recording law enforcement activities, are expressive activities protected by the First Amendment. That's according to Gregory Megyn, seems like an Armenian lawyer over at the Washington University in St. Louis. And then Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones, who has 30 officers credentialed to perform ICE arrests, said that he has no problem with people using whistles. Quote, they can blow their little whistles and jump up and down, Jones said. I don't care.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're gonna talk more about this a little bit later in the show, but speaking of things that are legal and not legal, there is federal supremacy. So if the federal investigators wanted, they could take over the case. If he's going to be charged at all, the shooters in this Pretti case, they could ask for it to be removed to federal courts, but they cannot block the state from investigating it. And guess what they're doing now? They're blocking the state from investigating it. So that's a huge problem right there. But to me, for the main purpose of this story, there's like 3 versions of Alex Pretti. Right. And I want to go through them real quick, and I'll tell you which one I believe. I suppose you could say there's 4, but one was the original version put out by the federal government, which is he's a terrorist, he's an assassin, and he was going to massacre the Border Patrol agents there. So now literally no one believes that. Not even the most extreme right-wing person believes that. I'm gonna get to them in a second, but that was an obvious over-the-top lie by the Trump administration. And if you're on the right or you voted for Trump, note that they do outrageous lies. And now things that you know to be lies.
And I'm gonna give you some insight based on a scoop in Axios about how that narrative of him being a dangerous terrorist or assassin came about. There was some fighting internally with the Trump administration, but go ahead.
Yeah, number 2 is the right-wing version of Alex Pretti, which is, oh, you see this, he's a provocateur, maybe Antifa, so not a terrorist, not an assassin, but a guy who's causing trouble. And to them, the broken ribs shows, aha, he deserved it. Why? Because he's constantly agitating, and how dare he protest the US government? Well, first of all, that's literally the most American right there is. It's in the First Amendment, there's no question about it. And when, of course, we've been through this 100 times, when the right protests, they love it and they think it's the most important thing and he can't get shut down. Same thing on the left. So, but they say because his ribs were broken earlier, that makes the shooting him 10 times more justified.
What?
Because they think he's an agitator. So he was at another protest. So since he was at another protest and we kicked his ass earlier and the federal officers broke his ribs, then now a second protest. You're an American citizen and you want to go to 2 protests?
Can't have it.
How dare you? So then they shoot him and kill him. Now the third version of Pretti, I suppose you could have a 4th one that's like relatively neutral. He's a good guy, goes to a protest, or not even good, just goes to a protest. You don't have any view on him, I suppose.
To be fair, we know how dangerous those ICU nurses at the VA happen to be.
Oh yeah, watch out for the nurses. Yeah. So and then, but there's the third version is the one that I believe in, and I suspect a lot of you do, and I know that it's going to drive the right wing crazy, and good. I'm glad it does. I don't care, and we're allowed to have different points of view on it. I think the guy's an absolute American hero. I think that he got killed trying to protect 2 women that had been pushed and pepper sprayed. I think that's the definition of masculinity, is when you go and protect women. And he never drew his weapon, he never did anything that he could have done, but he didn't. And he was there trying to protect American rights. And so that's our view of it and the way we see it. I know that for a lot of other people are like, no, this doesn't have to do with American rights, but we really think that it does. We think that they are out there trying to protect their, the people that they live with in their neighborhood, and they're also trying to protect our First Amendment rights, and in Pretti's case, a Second Amendment right. And the fact that he went to another protest and had his ribs broken, but still came out to protect others, I think they should build a statue of him. And I really do.
And on top of that, Cenk, he is acutely aware of the physical violence that will be carried out against him. And so to me, that indicates that he is less likely to engage in any type of threat or indication that he might physically harm federal agents, knowing that any move that might be misinterpreted by those agents will be used as justification to carry out violence against him. But I do want to just quickly mention something that Axios broke today in regard to how this narrative of Pretti being some sort of predator, some sort of terrorist, some sort of assassin came about. So Axios writes that immediately after Pretti was fatally shot in Minneapolis about 10:05 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday, administration officials in Washington knew that they had a disaster on their hands, okay, but had little information. The officers directly involved in the shooting all shut up and got lawyers real quick, so there wasn't a lot of information, one source briefed said in a statement. Now, the CBP, Customs and Border Patrol agents or officers on the ground furnished a report that White House officials told Axios left officials with the belief that Pretti had brandished a gun. Miller, meaning Stephen Miller, heard gun and knew what the narrative would be. Pretti came to massacre cops, a source briefed on the process of assembling the press statement said. So in other words, at the heart of the lies is Stephen Miller. Then you have the ICE bimbo, Kristi Noem, just regurgitating what their resident Nazi had to say about Alex Pretti. And then the lies, fester until everyone sees the video and they know that they're lies.
So Anna, to me, the most interesting part of that story is that they're not bothering to look at the video. They're not bothering to hear out the evidence or wait for the evidence.
They don't care to.
Like Stephen Miller or really almost anyone at the White House, according to that story, comes out and goes, whoa, guys, we don't even know what happened. Let's figure out what happened first, and then we'll put out a statement based on the facts. No, they go, oh, somebody got shot and they had a gun. Good enough. I don't need to see the video. I don't need to see what happened because I'm going to invent a story anyway. You see what I'm saying? At the White House, they're having a meeting about which story to invent, which narrative to push forward, and it's totally unrelated to what actually happened. In fact, we did a story last week about how Kash Patel is getting a lot of heat again inside the FBI because one of the things that he did after the Charlie Kirk shooting
is cover up for pedophiles?
Well, not only that, but in this particular case, they say he and Dan Bongino were obsessed with what are we gonna put on X? Well, how are we going to control the narrative? And the other FBI agents are like, well, don't we have to figure out who did it first? And at that point, no one had even been caught. They're like, shouldn't we be busy worrying about how to catch the guy instead of what narrative to push on X?
Can we please have some adults in the room? Like, we're talking about the FBI director, guys. This is not a small role, okay? And the idea that he's more concerned with how he's gonna come across on social media as opposed to how effective he is on the job is mind-numbingly infuriating, okay? It's just so frustrating. Now, I wanna go back to the topic of protesters being included in some sort of database that federal agents are tracking them in. Because DHS seems to kind of deny that that's what's going on here. They're just saying, no, we've formalized the process. Like we have a specific form now where we will jot down the information of someone who is an agitator. But clearly, based on what we've heard actual ICE agents and Border Patrol agents say to demonstrators who are simply recording their phones. In fact, there was one incident that went viral just recently. It does appear that they are collecting data on individuals who aren't causing any problems at all, including taking photos of their license plates. And on top of that, you have Tom Homan, who is on the record calling for this type of documentation. He was quoted as saying this: "One thing I'm pushing for right now, we're going to create a database where those people that are arrested for interference, impeding, and assault, we're going to make them famous. We're going to put their face on TV. We're going to let their employers in their neighborhoods, in their schools, know who these people are." Now, if we're talking about people who are breaking the law, if we're talking about people who are carrying out acts of violence against federal agents, which is illegal, obviously, I have no problem with these individuals getting arrested and being prosecuted for that. That is the correct thing to do. You don't have to execute them right then and there, right? You're not the judge, juror, or executioner, but you should arrest them and they should face prosecution. What we're talking about here, though, is ordinary people, ordinary Americans feeling the need to be part of these demonstrations. They're not violent, they're not doing anything wrong, they're filming with their phones, they're not impeding anything. And just the nature of them recording sets these federal agents off so much that they either treat them violently or they collect data on them. Again, DHS denies that they have any record of the incident involving Pretti, but a memo sent earlier this month, 2 agents temporarily assigned to the city asked them to capture all images, license plates, identifications, and general information on hotels, agitators, protesters, etc., so we can capture it all in one consolidated form. And that's according to a correspondence that was reviewed by CNN.
Yep. So look, last 2 things from me is one is saying we're allowed to do record law enforcement. There's nothing wrong with that. And the second one I'll farm out to one of our members on tyt.com. Get involved in the show, by the way, guys. We love doing the show with you guys. tyt.com/join. Don Dada Dragon said, if there isn't a noise ordinance, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to blow a whistle. Freedom of expression is a right. Yeah, is there like an asterisk in the Constitution I'm unaware of?
I've seen some on the right argue that the fact that some of these demonstrators are blowing whistles in order to alert individuals that ICE is conducting raids is a form of impeding ICE operations. That is not true. So I looked into that. I made sure that we looked into it as a team, and we found numerous examples of legal experts saying, no, that is protected under the First Amendment. It's the same as, let's say, there are apps available where you can download it on your phone and it'll alert you if there is a speed trap, meaning law enforcement is carrying out operations to catch people who are driving too quickly, too fast.
That's actually built into a lot of the GPSs now.
It is.
So apparently almost all Americans are impeding law enforcement.
Right.
And can we not say, here come the po-po anymore?
I mean, it turns out you can. That is protected under the First Amendment, yeah. Anyway, I wanna just pivot real quick to one other thing, because I wanted to give you all an update on the whereabouts of Kristi Noem and Bovino and all those other guys. So, yesterday there was some indication that Greg Bovino, the individual who is overseeing Border Patrol operations, might get fired by the Trump administration or forced to resign. I am sad to report that that will not be the case, at least for now. Bovino has been pulled out of Minnesota. However, he is now operating in El Centro, California. Now, Trump is known to throw people under the bus. He'll compliment people and then immediately fire them. So who knows what the fate of Bovino will be. And to be sure, Trump didn't miss an opportunity to throw him under the bus in a recent interview. Take a look.
The message is out that Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Commander Bovino is supposedly leaving Minneapolis along with some CBP agents. Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you make little changes. Bovino's very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists. These are paid agitators.
Okay, reading it sounded a lot worse than watching it. But
no,
what does that mean? He's an out there kind of a guy.
Yeah, so no, this is classic Trump. And if you're on the right, you should know this, because what he does is he asks people to do an impossible task. He often asks them to break the law. And then when they do, he then throws them under the bus.
That's his favorite thing to do.
Yeah, so like, why is Bovino telling the guy, clearly in my opinion, telling his guys, run roughshod, right? This is not an accident that they're fire 5 bullets at a guy who was already disarmed, pause, and fire another 5, right? They fire 1 at Renee Good from the front, 2 from the side, and kill from the side. So the fish rots from the head down. Bovino was brought in to be lawless. And then he did what Trump basically asked him to do. And then once it gets Trump into trouble and his polling is going down, all of a sudden he's an out there kind of guy.
I mean, when you really think about it, Cenk, people like Bovino model their behavior and their statements after someone gets gunned down after Trump's behavior, right? I mean, think about it. After Renee Good was shot and killed by ICE agents in Minnesota, what was the first thing Trump did? I don't even think he looked at the video. The first thing he did is jump on social media and claim that Renee Good ran over. She didn't try to run over, she ran over the ICE agent. So what does that signal to the rest of the people in your administration? It signals this is the way I expect you to behave. The fish rots from the head down.
So, and there's two parts of that. One is go take lawless actions. It's not like Trump didn't notice that they were masked and they don't have badges and that they've been pushing people around, including American citizens. There's already been 16 shots fired. Again, we'll come back to that later in the program by these guys. And each time the government goes, "Attaboy." And there's been no consequences at all. And he brings in this guy who's known to be out of control. That's not an accident. None of that is an accident. That's what Trump wanted. And then the second part is what Anna was just alluding to. He immediately starts lying about this, but he's lied about everything. Oh, they're eating cats and dogs, and oh, the hurricane is this way. I'll draw it with a Sharpie. I mean, nonsense, right? Now, over and over. So what happens? Stephen Miller gets the news that this shooting has happened and says, "Oh, great, let's call him a terrorist," right?
An assassin.
And an assassin, right? And now everyone is picking a different lie to go with, but no one's bothering not to lie. Because why? Because the leader told them, when you get into trouble, just make things up. And it doesn't matter how outrageous it is. But what they didn't tell him, and they should learn by now, but they still haven't after like 5 years of Trump as president, is he's gonna throw you under the bus. Like him attacking the left or whatever, that's normal. Everybody knows that, nobody's surprised by that. But every time he throws another right winger that people like that on the right, they're like, "Oh, Bovino's tough, he loves to break the law, yeah. And then he's like, "Yeah, he's out there, get him out of here." And he says, maybe he wasn't good here.
No, it's amazing.
I mean, that's definitely getting thrown under the bus.
I think the only person who has worked in a Trump administration and came out unscathed was Mike Pompeo, honestly, right? Everyone else was backstabbed, betrayed, wronged in some way, and I will allow it. Now, one other update real quick, Cenk. I was also curious about Kristi Noem, who's unfortunately still the head of the Department of Homeland Security. She's DHS secretary, of course. Is she going to be fired or is she going to be forced to resign? Well, Trump answers that question in our final video. Let's take a look.
I know you addressed this morning. You talked about the incredible success, and it is an incredible success at the southern border. But you were asked, with the shift in Minneapolis and Tom Homan going to Minnesota, do you still have confidence in DHS Secretary Kristi Noem? You brought up the success at the border.
Look,
you do.
She was there with the border. Who closed up the border? She did, with Tom Homan, with the whole group. I mean, they closed up the border. The border is a tremendous success, one of the most secure borders in the entire world. We were a laughingstock 1.5 years ago for the whole world. The whole world laughed at us. I had friends that said, "Is that real?" They'd look at a picture. You've been down to the border. They'd look at a picture of the border with hundreds of thousands of people pouring in like it was water. And they said, "Is that really taken?" They can't believe it. They think it's one of these crazy movies that they make.
I got news for you, Trump. The whole world is definitely laughing at us. Either laughing at us or absolutely shocked at how dysfunctional and disastrous our country has become. And that pains me because I love this country. But anyway, needless to say, it appears that Kristi Noem is safe.
For now, until Bovino's not enough and Trump tells him to go break more laws, and they do, and he gets into bigger trouble, and then he'll fire Noem. And that's how this merry-go-round goes. Look, real quick, he says, "Oh, you couldn't believe it, hundreds of thousands crossing at the same time." There's a good reason why they don't believe it. That didn't happen. Millions of people came in,
they did,
but hundreds of thousands of people didn't cross at the same time. There wasn't some sort of stampede. He needlessly exaggerates when millions of people came in anyway. You don't need to exaggerate, right?
Yeah, and look, I know that it would be ridiculous to ever have any optimism in this country, any optimism that maybe we can escape the wild, extreme pendulum swings on everything in this country. But it is true that Biden dropping the ball on immigration created the mass support initially for Trump's immigration policies, which got him elected into office in the first place. That is what I warned about during the Biden administration as the election was heating up. And everyone got mad at me and made it appear as though I'm like this anti-immigrant, draconian monster. No, I understand what people are saying, what people are feeling, what they're experiencing in their cities, their states, what they're frustrated by. And if the Democrats don't have their solutions for these issues, what happens? Well, the public starts looking for answers elsewhere. And unfortunately, they looked for answers with Trump, and this is what we get.
Last thing I'll say on that is, guys, let's all collectively please not make the same mistake. When you criticize somebody on your own side, number one, that's the principled, consistent thing to do, because you should care about policy and ideology more than you care about politicians and protecting powerful people. Number two, when you criticize someone on your side and say, hey, I don't think they might be able to win this election, you're not trying to hurt your party or your side, you're trying to help your side. So what we were saying is Joe Biden is too old, his policies are not good enough, and he's going to lose the election to Donald Trump. Please get him out of there so we can have a better candidate. And unfortunately, mainstream media has turned some people, now things are much, much better. But back then, tons of zombies out there going, no, must support Biden, must support Kamala, must support any corporate Democrat that the Democrats put out. That doesn't help at all. Pick the best candidate and stop doing foolish things. We have wonderful policies. Why don't we do those? Why don't we do those?
Why don't we? All right. Well, we got to take a break, but when we come back, a pretty jarring and explosive story in the Washington Post in regard to how the Trump administration has handled other shootings involving federal agents. Come right back.
All right, back on TYT. Let's start with YouTube members. With a gal says, didn't Vance tell ICE they have immunity? Yes, after the Renee Good shooting, he did say that. And then after the Pretti shooting, he started to walk it back a little bit. Why?
Oh, he's so much, but he's way better than Trump. He's different. He's different from everyone else in the administration.
Sure.
The post-liberal Republican, as he described himself.
Yeah. So the reason he's walking it back is not because he had a change of heart, but he had a change of polls. So
That's right.
He's seeing how unpopular it is. Kevin Shea says after the first few shots, he was probably dead, and they just kept shooting a dead body. That is very likely, Kevin. And I don't know what's worse. Maybe he wasn't dead after the first 5 shots, and they're like, let's make sure that we completely murdered him, or he's dead, but let's have fun and shoot a dead guy we just killed 5 more times. And it's not about having fun, guys. They're told to stop having any restraint, and then they act with no restraint, and this is the result. The only Mel 43 writes in, they also have 5-year-old Liam Ramos in Texas custody, a child by design, just like Israel. Fortunately, our law enforcement is working with Israel quite often and apparently learning all the wrong lessons. I talked to Ken Klippenstein about that a little bit yesterday. Check that out on The Revolution, which now has its own YouTube channel. Of course, you can see everything on tyt.com. Georgie girl, okay, let's talk about it. She writes in on tyt.com. Everybody on tyt.com is a member. I'm sorry, but the immigration under the Biden administration is no reason to elect a loser like Donald Trump. I mean, people, hold it together. How about a little middle ground? So here's what I would say to that. Yes, that's why I voted against Trump and I voted for Kamala Harris, okay? Because there's so many things wrong with Donald Trump that the things wrong that the Democrats did wrong, while a category that is significant and large, it pales in comparison to what Trump does wrong, in my opinion, right? So having said that, let's not do things wrong, because the election isn't just about us. It's about winning over independents.
It's about winning everyone over. I mean, yes. Yeah, I mean, look, I hear what your argument is. And I know how I would behave in a situation like that, where it's like, I don't like the way Democrats are handling it. Doesn't mean I'm gonna elect someone who I know is gonna be needlessly cruel and vicious to people. However, you and I don't represent all voters, right? So you have to think about it that way. And you also have to consider what you're experiencing with immigration and Biden's inability to control it is different from what others might have experienced, right? So if you were one of the people living in that apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado, and yes, the Trinidad Aragua thing was confirmed even by the New York Times after the election. But if you experience that firsthand and you have these gangs like extorting you and taking your rent money, you're gonna be desperate for help when all you're hearing from Democrats is it's not happening. You get what I'm saying? And that's not to demonize all immigrants, but the criminal element should be dealt with. And unfortunately under Biden, it didn't appear like that was the case, you know?
Yeah, Loaded Ego wrote in, their first reaction to Turks murder was not let's catch who did it. It was how can we use this to benefit our cause? Which they might have thought before and after.
It's terrible.
Jenks Left Tricep of Fury says, Pretti was the only real man at the incident. And that's the comment I agree with most. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, checking out with you guys. CDN North Dog Dad, thank you for gifting a membership on YouTube as you usually do. We appreciate it, brother. And our gift back to you guys is save you a ton of money on your cell phone service. So tyt.com/switch. This is Noble Mobile, and they basically are under the T-Mobile service. So my service hasn't changed 1%. My phone is the same, my number is the same, my service is the same. But max you can pay is $50 the first month now on a special. So Act Now is only 10 months, so that's another $40 you save. But really, I'm paying in the 30s because I constantly get money back for the data that I don't use, which very likely you'll be in the same situation because we all use Wi-Fi. So we actually don't use that much data. You get a lot of money back. There's really no reason not to do it. It'll save you hundreds of dollars, maybe even over $1,000 per year. tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. All right, Anna.
All right, well, it's worth looking into other shootings involving federal agents and how the Trump administration handled the investigations or lack thereof following these incidents. So let's get into it. The Trump administration has publicly justified 16 Department of Homeland Security related shootings since July before investigations into the incidents were ever even completed. And that's according to an explosive report in the Washington Post. Now, before we get to these 16 shootings, who they involved and what happened afterwards, Cenk, your 2 cents?
Yeah, my number one issue here is lack of accountability. So if you have wrongdoing and nobody ever gets punished for it, you know what you'll have? Tons more of wrongdoing. And that's how we got in this mess. And then the fight between state and federal officials is also super important, but there's a lot of nuance there. You might be surprised at some of the answers. So we'll get to those after you hear the facts.
Now let's just briefly go over the characteristics of some of these shootings. So there were 16 shootings that were looked into total. 10 people were struck by bullets. 4 of those shot happened to be American citizens, US citizens. 3 of the individuals shot happened to be killed. 2 of them were, of course, American citizens. We've been talking about them all week. And then most of them occurred in cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis, the places where Trump had a DHS surge of these federal agents and immigration officers. Now, not only did the Trump administration rush to prematurely declare the shootings were justified, but on top of that, lawyers say officials have been quick to pursue felony charges against those fired at. Though in 4 of 10 cases, prosecutors have either dropped charges or a judge has dismissed them after evidence emerged contradicting the government's narrative of events. So in other words, they decided to literally go after the individuals they shot with criminal charges. It's crazy, and it's honestly indicative or reminiscent, I should say, of what happened to Renee Good's, significant other. We heard that the federal government is less interested in investigating the ICE officer who shot and killed her, and in fact, they're launching an investigation into Renee Good's partner. So on top of that, none of the officers with Immigration and Customs Enforcement or US Border Patrol or Homeland Security have faced any criminal charges in any of the 16 shootings that we're talking about here. There was also no disciplinary action taken against them. We've shared the details about one of these insane cases before, but I do feel that it bears repeating because it was honestly one of the craziest incidents that has occurred so far, or occurred prior to Renee Good and Pretti being shot and killed. Now, Miramar Martinez, a US citizen, was charged with assault after being shot 5 times by Border Patrol agent Charles Exum during a traffic stop in Chicago. This took place on October 4th. Now, federal authorities accused her of aggressively and erratically pursuing Exum and ramming his car amid protests over the Trump administration's surge in immigration enforcement in the city. But turns out that much like the Pretti story, what we heard from the government wasn't the truth. What we heard from the federal agents wasn't the truth. Agents' body camera footage later showed that Exum had rammed Martinez's vehicle and then pointed his gun at her, threatened her, and shot her 5 times. She miraculously survived, thankfully survived. And a federal judge dismissed the charges against her in November. Her lawyer says that recently obtained video from a storefront security camera shows that the federal agent's government vehicle was actually not boxed in by Martinez's car at all. And that's what federal agents had also claimed. By the way, just in case you're wondering, Exum has not been charged.
Yeah, so very common theme throughout almost all of these shootings is blame the victim and lie through your teeth about almost everything related to the case. In every instance, and certainly the ones that are dismissed already, and it's pretty lightning quick how these cases are getting dismissed against the victims.
Yep.
They go and they go, okay, and then this is a perfect example, but there's several more like this, right? Yeah, she was a vicious terrorist who rammed her car into us and nearly murdered us. And the judge is like, oh, great, let me see the video, right? Because we'll put her away. They see the video, they're like, what? It's the exact opposite. You guys rammed into her and then you shot at her. She never did anything. And they're like, no, case dismissed. And presumably the judge is then waiting for the guy who did the shooting to be charged, but he never gets charged.
No, he never gets charged. By the way, what a tough guy. Shooting a woman 5 times when she wasn't even a threat to you. What a POS coward. Anyway, but I want to give you one other instance that was briefly mentioned in this Washington Post piece, but I looked into it even further and the story's even more egregious than what Washington Post reported about. So there was another instance, another case where DHS officials charged or changed their initial account of the incident altogether. So in this case, several ICE officers fired at the driver of a van who authorities said rammed their vehicles and drove at them while attempting to flee an enforcement stop. DHS said the driver, Tiago Alexandre Sousa Martins, was struck by a bullet in the shoulder and crashed, and that his passenger, Solomon Antonio Serrano Esquivel, suffered whiplash. Oh, he suffered whiplash, that's interesting. Well, it turns out that the local police department in Maryland, the Anne Arundel County Police, investigated this, and you know what they found? They found that the passenger who got whiplash in the other suspect's vehicle actually wasn't in the other suspect's vehicle at all. He was already in ICE custody when the shooting occurred. So Washington Post left it there. I'm like, oh, interesting, already in ICE custody, so how did this individual get injured? Well, according to the press release that was put out by the local police department, Serrano Esquivel was never in the van with Sousa Martins, but was picked up by ICE earlier that morning in southern Maryland and was handcuffed in an ICE vehicle that later got in an accident while chasing another vehicle. That appears to be the vehicle that Sousa Martins was driving, and that, the attorney says, was why Mr. Serrano Esquivel ended up in the hospital. I mean, it's like pretending like someone is in a vehicle that wasn't in the vehicle, was already in ICE custody, lying about why that individual was injured in the first place. That's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, so when we cover what happened in Gaza over the last 2 years, at some point in a year in, somewhere around that mark, we just started saying, don't believe a single thing the Israeli government says. Like so far in covering this conflict in hundreds of statements, almost none of it has ever been true. It's almost always the exact opposite, right?
They lied about babies being beheaded.
Yeah.
And they lied about babies being placed in ovens.
Yeah, they're just serial liars. So if they say Palestinians have done something or Hamas has done something, that means almost certainly they're the ones who did it, and they're doing projection, right? So I give you that as an example because unfortunately our government is turning into that. So look, it's not like our government was saints to begin with.
No, our government has been lying to us.
Yeah, our government lies to us about 1,000 things, and we covered on the show. And the fact that establishment media doesn't reveal a lot of those lies drives us crazy, right? But Trump has taken it to a different level. The first reaction, the only reaction is make up a story. Doesn't matter what the story is, just make it up, make it up. Just say that the victim is the one that's at fault. They made you shoot them. They made you kill them, right? And so we trained with the IDF, and now we got IDF on our streets, the equivalent of it. And now, wait, what does that make us? It makes American citizens the Palestinians. And so this surveillance state is coming. Police state is already here in the streets. I was warned about it, actually, ironically, by the right wing who said, don't tread on me. And now they think it's super tough and awesome when the government treads on you.
Well, I
don't think it's tough at all. I don't think so.
There's no question that there's a huge portion of the right that believes that. But I think that the Trump administration backed off a little in Minnesota, not because of what the left thinks. They couldn't care less what the left thinks, but because they were losing support among the right.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. Unfortunately, they didn't lose a lot of support after Renee Good.
That's true.
So our job is to give it to you as it is, our best guess, evaluation of what has happened and the different reactions that people have had in news and politics, right? And so we told you when the right wing was turning on Israel, we told you that they were true on Epstein files, etc. In the beginning, we got a lot of pushback, no way, no way. And now people see that, yeah, that was true. And on Renee Good, they didn't move much. So a sad day, I wish it weren't the case, but they didn't. Now some did, but not a lot. Now on Pretti, a lot more have moved. And I'm telling you, honestly, a huge part of it is because he was armed. So, which is ironic, but it makes them relate to him more and empathize with him more. Wait, I've brought guns to different things. Is the government allowed to kill me? Exactly, guys. The government is allowed to kill you whether you're armed or unarmed. And so they're taking way too much risk with our lives. They're treating our lives like they're cheap. And I've now been on a bunch of right-wing shows in the last couple of days. And when I get to that point, even the right-wing hosts are like, yeah, the value of life is getting cheaper, right? And so that's a big problem when your government doesn't value your life in a democracy. Lastly here for me, so there is a significant conflict between federal and state in these cases because Minnesota says, I'd like to prosecute, right? I'm just talking about those 2 shootings, let alone the 14 others, right? Or not even prosecute, but investigate to see if I want to prosecute. And the federal law enforcement is blocking them from the crime scene. And for Pretti in the beginning, which is a huge problem, right? So understand what is and is not okay. Federal law enforcement does trump local law enforcement. They do have supremacy, and that's okay, and that's good. I want there to be one law that is for the whole country. And so we can't have the different states saying, no, I supersede the federal government. And a person who's a federal law enforcement officer can ask to have their case removed to federal court. Okay, so those are normal. That is not abnormal by the Trump administration. That's fine, right? But when you turn to what they're doing, blocking them from the crime scene, not at all normal. And guys, who normally charges in crimes like murder, assault, etc.?
The state.
The state does, exactly. Not the federal government. Federal government looks for hate crimes and other violations of federal law. Right,
civil rights violations, things like that.
Right, so here, Minnesota should be in charge of these investigations. And then if the defendant wants to move it to federal court, no problem, right? But right now, that's not happening because they lie, they do the shootings, then they lie, then they block real investigations so you can't find out the truth. Which again, sorry, but also reminds me of Israel. Don't let any journalists in. Don't let anybody see what we're doing, because if they saw what we're doing and they saw the reality of it, they would not like it. And I don't want that in this country. We believe in truth, justice, equality. These are things we were taught that are American ideals, and I love that they're American ideals. We should try to live up to them.
Now, we've been giving the right a lot of heat, but when we come back, we're gonna give a handful of Democrats a lot of heat because they voted for a no good, very bad bill, and now they're pretending like they regret it. We'll be right back.
All right, we're gonna go to YouTube Super Chat. Oh, you wanna say something first?
Yeah, so this just broke. 2 Republican senators call for Kristi Noem to resign as DHS secretary. That includes Lisa Murkowski.
And I'm gonna guess Bill Cassidy.
No, Tom Tillis.
Oh, Tom Tillis, okay.
Tommy Tillis, Tommy T.
No, that's a bet. Yeah, I should have guessed Tom Tillis because he's retiring.
Oh, that makes sense. I didn't know he was retiring.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, but hey, I'll take it. That's a huge development because a lot of Democrats now talking about impeaching her, and it could have been a partisan thing. But if a bunch of Republicans go, no, she's got to go, that makes it a lot more likely. All right, now let's go to folks on YouTube Super Chat. We have a very varied audience, and kind of famously so, and I'm super proud of that.
I love that.
So we're gonna get a range of opinions here. Make It Make Sense says 2 things that can be true. ICE isn't perfect and shouldn't be defended blindly, but many civilians also shouldn't have put themselves in these situations. We face a serious problem of radicalization on both sides. So here's the only thing I disagree with you on. I don't think it's a radical thing to go and protest what ICE is doing. I think that's a perfectly normal thing, and there's a lot of things that the right wing protests when the Democrats are in charge, and that's a perfectly normal thing. And we've said that over and over, and you've seen us say it. So in this case, the one thing that I agree with you though is, guys, everybody be careful when you're going out to protest, especially with these trigger happy guys around. I don't want you to get hurt. So stay away from law enforcement. 10 feet, 20 feet, I don't know what a safe distance is. I'm not saying don't be there, tape it, whatever you need to do. And I think that it's actually heroic, but don't get anywhere near them. They're not gonna hesitate. We just saw it in killing you, right? So be careful out there, and I would say that certainly to the right wing on January 6th. It would have been nice if you stayed 10, 20 feet away from law enforcement instead of attacking them viciously. So same rule applies to everybody. User Zero Error says, we can't allow this state-sponsored violence to become normalized like school shootings. Hopes and prayers ended any chance of any gun reforms. Hopefully the same doesn't happen to ICE violence. See, that's a great point. And exactly why I think we should have these significant protests against ICE and Border Patrol, because I don't want it normalized. I don't want to wake up one day and like, oh, well, we never fought back and nobody objected, so now we have mass thugs that control all of our cities. We don't know who they are and they sporadically kill people and take away our rights. No, we're Americans, we get to protest that. So terrific point. Albert Nada Retro says, if they don't want ICE, then take them away. When their daughters end up like DeKara Thompson, they'll be begging for them to come back. So that's a person, this woman who was killed by an undocumented immigrant. Okay, so, but brother, not every immigrant kills someone. Like they put that out there to get you angry, right? You know how many American citizens, natural born citizens have killed young women like DeKara Thompson? Thousands. And do you know their names? Do you know the women who were killed? Do you know the perpetrators? You don't know any of them, right? Well, because no one in media put them in your face and go, you see this? She was killed, evil person, right? And so they're trying to drive an agenda, brother, and you gotta realize that. All right, we'll be back. back on TYT. Cenk and Anna with you guys. Also, Art Ashbrook, thank you for joining. We appreciate it. And look at this. Cornelius Poindexter gifted 20 memberships on YouTube. We appreciate you so much. It's wonderful. I'm gonna read 2 quick super chats before we move on from the ICE story. Free Meatballs and Linguini said, guys, it's called the First Amendment because you're allowed to protest one time, duh. If you protest twice, you're a terrorist. Okay, like anytime you guys make, which is very, very often either smart or funny comments. And then last one is Jose Romanico says, I love you guys, especially Anna. Keep rocking.
No way, Jose.
Oh.
Thank you, I love you too.
All right, what's next?
Okay, let's get to one of my favorite pastimes, which is trashing weak and cowardly Democrats.
From one of the toughest weeks since serving. I think this week we all saw the most shocking and appalling footage that came out of Minnesota that resulted in the death of 2 American citizens.
That's Democratic Congressman Vicente Gonzalez, who along with 6 other House Dems helped pass legislation that funded ICE to the tune of $10 billion. Now he's attempting to do damage control. Is it gonna work?
Just last week, some of y'all called me asking why I voted for that DHS funding. Well, let me make it clear. It was not to fund ICE.
But it did fund ICE to the tune of $10 billion, as I said earlier. And Congressman Vicente Gonzalez is a Democrat, and so are the 6 others who were part of this story, who just decided to vote in favor of this legislation. Now, the bill to fund DHS is part of a government funding maneuver, right? But it's a separate bill. You know how usually they do these one big bills that funds everything in the government at once? Well, that actually didn't happen this time around. This time around, the House, under the leadership of Mike Johnson, separated it into several different bills. So in this case, these Democrats, these 7 Democrats, voted in favor of funding DHS specifically, knowing that DHS would be getting around $65 billion. And of that $65 billion, $10 billion was gonna go specifically to ICE. I want to also note that this happened after the Renee Good shooting. Cenk, thoughts?
Yeah, so we're gonna give you more of their weak ass excuses. Was ICE funding in the bill? But also, what are they gonna do next? Chuck Schumer's threatening to do something. Is he really gonna do it? We'll talk about it after Anna gives you the facts.
So look, despite the widespread and documented abuse being carried out by DHS and ICE, the House did vote to pass this DHS funding bill. And the Democrats who voted in favor of it, yes, included Representative Vicente Gonzalez, but there were others as well, including Representative Henry Cuellar from Texas, Representative Laura Gillen from New York, Jared Golden from Maine, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez from Washington, Don Davis from North Carolina, and then you have Tom Schwazi from New York. In fact, there was one Republican who voted against the funding bill, and that happened to be Congressman Thomas Massie. So we're in a weird topsy-turvy world when you have Republican Thomas Massie voting against an ICE funding bill that 7 Democrats voted in favor of. But the bill does include a few things that I like. I still would vote no on the bill though. So it included things like reducing funding for ICE's enforcement and removal operations by a measly $115 million, decrease the number of detention beds by 5,500, and set aside funding for body cameras for agents and reduce funding for Border Patrol. My understanding is that these federal agents already wear body cams, so I don't really know why they needed that concession in this bill when that's already happening. But Cenk, your thoughts on the 7 Democrats voting in favor of the bill?
Yeah, so first on Massie. So why did Massie vote no? Because Massie's anti-war, but he's a right-winger in every other way. Well, because he asked a good question, which then made me ask it. Look, I get it. This is what I say all the time about all these things, but I want you to have the same realization. They already gave DHS tens of billions of dollars earlier.
Yes, they did.
And Massie's question is, as a fiscal conservative, why do they need another $64 billion? Tell me what they are going to do with $64 billion. Another $10 billion for ICE alone. We already gave them tons and tons and tons of money. They literally don't know what to do with it. They're giving away like $50,000 signing bonuses.
I think it's because of that economic surplus that we're enjoying in this country right now.
Yeah. Or, oh yeah, we have a $38 trillion deficit.
Yeah.
When we're literally borrowing all this money from China and have to pay interest rate on it for the rest of our lives. So that goes to, we didn't need this at almost at all, right? Then you get to the 7 Democrats. Look, it's a combination of things. So most of them are in swing districts. So they've been taught to, if you're in a swing district, whenever any issue of safety or security, don't think, just vote with the Republicans, right? No, there are some cases where that would make sense if there's really an increase in crime and you don't want to deny that increase in crime, et cetera, no problem, right? But then there are cases that don't make any sense. That's where you have to use your mind. The problem with politicians is they're all blank slates. They are all picked to have no mind and just do what the donors tell them to do. So they're like, me do what consultants and donors tell me to do.
But Jake, in this case, I actually fully disagree on the donor angle because
no, I didn't say.
Oh, okay, because the donors love illegal immigration. They do. The donors overwhelmingly love it because it's cheap labor for them, and they don't have, their workers won't have legal recourse. I mean, that's part of the reason why immigration is as broken as it is in this country.
In fact, Anna, what I was going to say is, if you notice, Wall Street Journal, New York Post, and Fox News, which we'll talk more about later in the show, have all flipped on this and criticizing Trump administration, all run by Rupert Murdoch, who is really in that corporate group that is pro illegal immigration, and they like to use it as a BS talking point and political points, but they don't actually want them to leave.
That's right. That's totally right.
So what I was going to finish the thought with here is normally they're told by the donors what to think. In this case, they're told by the consultants what to think. And consultants tell them, don't think, just vote with the Republicans on any safety or security issue. But here, they stepped on a landmine, a political one.
Now, I want to be very, very clear. Even though the Democrats claim that they got some real concessions in that DHS funding bill, the reality is it did not include any restraints on ICE's violent tactics, especially in places like Minnesota or elsewhere in the country. So the Democratic votes were critical. Without the Democratic votes, the Republicans don't have a wide enough margin in order to pass that funding bill, right? Especially with Thomas Massie voting against it. And so while a solid contingent of Senate Democrats had been expected to follow suit and allow the measure to clear Congress altogether, now following the shooting of Alex Pretti, they're changing their tune. So we're gonna get to the Senate in just a second. But first, I do wanna talk about Tom Suozzi because he's the only Democratic lawmaker who voted in favor of the DHS funding bill in the House, who is now coming out and admitting that he made a mistake. And guys, my instinct, because I'm a human being, is to dunk on him. My instinct, because I'm a human being, is to chide him, right? No, make no mistake about it. We also have to make space for people to admit they were wrong. And we should provide positive reinforcement when a lawmaker is like, oh my God, I made a terrible mistake and I'm sorry. So here's what he says. I failed to view the DHS funding vote as a referendum on the illegal and immoral conduct of ICE in Minneapolis. I hear the anger from my constituents, real happy that his constituents are angry and saying something, and I take responsibility for that. I have long been critical of ICE's unlawful behavior and I must do a better job demonstrating that. The senseless and tragic murder of Alex Pretti underscores what happens when untrained federal agents operate without accountability. President Trump must immediately end Operation Metro Surge and ICE's occupation of Minneapolis that has sown chaos, led to tragedy, and undermined experienced law enforcement. Okay, so he's obviously apologetic here. He realized he voted for a terrible DHS funding bill. We'll keep an eye on Suozzi and see if he has actually learned from his mistakes here, but there was really no reason for him to vote in favor of this DHS funding bill.
Yeah, two things. Anna, you're right. And I was on my way to Dunkin' Donuts.
No, I feel you.
Yeah, I was gonna dunk on him pretty hard. But you reminded me, wait, we gotta show grace. And what do I always say? Take yes for an answer.
Yes, exactly.
So he's now flipped around. Now he's saying sorry, sorry, sorry. So if we give grace to Massey and MTG, we certainly have to give grace to Swansea when he comes to the correct position. So thank you for reminding me of that. And then the second thing is, hey, everybody out there, way to let him know. If you're in his district and you called him or you wrote to him, you did it. He heard you. He heard you loud and clear. He's now changed his position, and that's how a democracy is supposed to work. So thank you for taking part in it, and you see you can make a difference. In fact, guys, all the protesters, I love you guys. You made a huge difference. Trump's retreating, and that's because you guys would not let go of your constitutional rights. I love it.
I love it too. Okay, so now let's move over to the Senate, because following the shooting of Alex Pretti, Senate Democrats are really thinking about what kind of leverage they have when it comes to these government funding bills. So Senate Republicans need 7 Democratic votes in favor of the funding bill in order to pass the legislative filibuster, which requires 60 votes in order for the legislation to pass. However, several Senate Democrats have said that they will not vote for it without stricter guardrails on immigration enforcement. So let's go to the Chuck Schumer post where he says, what's happening in Minnesota is appalling and unacceptable in any American city. Democrats sought common sense reforms in the Department of Homeland Security spending bill, but because of Republicans' refusal to stand up to Trump, the DHS bill is woefully inadequate to rein in the abuses of ICE. I will vote no. Senate Democrats will not provide the votes to proceed to the appropriations bill if the DHS funding bill is included. So Senator Jackie Rosen from Nevada, who voted against Dems in order to end the shutdown this past November, is joining along. So Senator Jackie Rosen says enough is enough. We need to rein in ICE's out of control conduct. As a member of the US Senate, I have the responsibility to hold the Trump administration accountable when I see abuses of power like we are seeing from ICE right now. That's why I'll be voting against any government funding package that contains the bill that funds this agency until we have guardrails in place to curtail these abuses of power and ensure more accountability and transparency. So several other Senate Democrats have co-signed onto this effort. We'll see if they actually stay true to this pledge, because I do think it's important for appropriate guardrails to be placed on these federal agents so they're not violating Americans' constitutional rights.
Yeah, so are they gonna hold? I mean, 9 out of 10 times they don't, so they'll huff and puff. We've got our strongly worded letters ready already. But there was that one instance in Trump's first term where Trump ate it, and it really wasn't that Schumer and Pelosi won it. It was that Trump lost. Why? If you remember, there was that famous meeting in the Oval Office with the 3 of them, and Trump's like, I'm gonna shut down the government. I'm the one doing it. I'm responsible. You're like, why did you just say that? Like, that's gonna hurt you big time. But he was not bright enough to realize that that would hurt him. And so that put him so far behind the 8 ball that he eventually had to concede. That hasn't happened here, but this is making him more and more unpopular. That's why the Democrats are pouncing. Because look, in order for Chuck Schumer to get up out of bed, like from underneath the covers where he's hiding, like 23 and a half hours of the day, the poll numbers have to be like gigantic. Like, don't worry, Chucky, 78% of the country's on your side, right? Ooh, he's like, maybe I could take an inch forward here. There you go, attaboy, Chucky, keep going. Wouldn't
it be kind of badass if we had like a more, if Chuck Schumer was more like, I'm Chucky, wanna play,
Well, you know what? I mean, at least it would like put a fear in someone.
Yeah,
at least it
I
would
like
be
that energy. I'm into that energy, but yeah, Chuck Schumer doesn't have it. But we'll see, we'll see.
And just last thing on that, wouldn't it be amazing if we had a Democrat who actually scared Republicans a little bit? Like, and I don't mean the voters.
Not scared of like violence or something like that.
No. I don't mean the voters, I mean the politicians.
Of course.
If there was a Democratic politician who was strong enough, populist enough, and he's like, no, I'm gonna get paid family leave pass or whatever the law is, and I dare you to vote against it, because politically, I'm gonna break your back and I'm gonna drink your spinal fluid.
Oh, ew. Okay, all right.
Okay. So, look, Rebellion PAC is a bunch of candidates that are populist left. And they're all great guys. That's part of why we picked them, and they have all the right policies. The one guy out of that group that I could see doing that is Ojeda. right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Richard Ojeda running in North Carolina, check him out. He's a badass and he's a strong fighter on the left. So there are some folks like that. We just gotta elevate them.
When we come back from the break, we have an unfortunate story featuring Megyn Kelly making unfortunate statements. I'll just leave it at that. We'll be right back.
It's time to knuckle up.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, the defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
Indisputable, exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
There was a point where I did want to throw hands, but I'm bigger than you.
I know you are, but what am I?
check out TYT Jank, Anna, and Super Platinum Man. That's the new member that just hit the join button. Where is it? Oh, right, it's below the video on YouTube. That's right. If you're not on YouTube, good news, tyt.com/join. And we're actually gonna have a bunch of comments from that brother in the next social break. All right,
Nice.
Anna.
All right, we got to talk about Megyn Kelly's statements in regard to the Alex Pretti shooting.
I know I'm supposed to feel sorry for Alex Pretti, but I don't. I don't. Do you know why I wasn't shot by Border Patrol this weekend? Because I kept my ass inside and out of their operations.
Well, Megyn Kelly has no qualms about VA ICU nurse Alex Pretti getting shot and killed by Border Patrol agents in Minnesota as he stood there and held a cell phone to record them. He had it coming because he existed on public property and was filming federal agents, which he had the right to do, of course. Cenk, your 2 cents?
Yeah, first, congrats, Megyn. You didn't do anything. Are you proud? Okay, I like Americans who fight for their rights. And so I think Alex Pretti is an American hero. I think the exact opposite of Megyn Kelly in this instance. So we'll give you all that she said and the facts, and then I'll weigh in on it.
So before I get to this, I just want, look, most people watching this aren't necessarily gonna understand it from their own lived experience. But the way that I see this is, we are very privileged as individuals who have a platform where we get to express how we feel or what we think about anything happening in the country at any given moment. People like Alex Pretti, people who have been demonstrating on the streets, they don't necessarily have these types of platforms or these types of avenues to express their frustration, their anger, how they're feeling about their own government. So, like, it's very easy to say, well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't show up to a protest. But yeah, you get to express yourself on a massive platform that you've built for yourself, right? So I just think the argument overall is weird, and wrong. But let me just give you the examples of what she had to say, give you more context, and you can decide for yourself. So not only did Megyn Kelly congratulate herself for exercising her speech rights from the comfort of her own studio, she then proceeded to misrepresent Alex Pretti's conduct. And this is where I get upset, right? Because it's one thing to say, I wouldn't do what Alex Pretti did. Okay, fine, whatever. It's another thing to totally misrepresent what he did do. So let's watch.
If I felt strongly enough about something the government was doing that I would go out and protest, I would do it peacefully on the sidewalk without interfering, via a whistle, via shouting, via my body, via any other way. I would make my objections known by standing there without interfering, because interfering is where you go south. And laying hands on a police officer trying to, or Border Patrol officer or ICE officer trying to conduct a law enforcement operation is a felony. And now you are gonna get arrested. And if you do anything that resembles resisting, you're in serious trouble.
But he didn't get arrested, he was executed. And on top of that, what ICE operation was he impeding? But in all honesty, what ICE operation was he impeding by standing there with his phone? And secondly, if you're gonna argue with me that he was impeding an ICE operation after he moved to help the woman who was pushed to the ground by the Border Patrol agents, I mean, I'm gonna throw the question back at Megyn Kelly. So did he deserve to be executed because he tried to help a woman who, for no reason, no apparent reason at least, Border Patrol decided to shove her onto the ground? I don't know, I'm curious.
Yeah, so let me build on those. Why do these Border Patrol guys even care about the protesters? Like, aren't they supposed to be busy detaining an undocumented immigrant or something? Why do they constantly turn around and attack the protesters? Who cares? They're not in. Remember, guys, Pretti and the women were very far away from the Border Patrol guys. The Border Patrol guys came up to them.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so I say stay 10 to 20 feet away from law enforcement. I've been saying that, since these shootings started happening. And I think that's a good policy. But you know what? Pretti was 10 to 20 feet away from the law enforcement guys. The only time that he came into to being closer to them is number one, when they came towards the protesters, and then they pushed the woman down and pepper sprayed her, or bear sprayed her. And then Pretti couldn't help himself because he's so courageous. He didn't go to attack the law enforcement guys. He went to go help the woman who was on the ground.
He placed his body between the Border Patrol agents and the woman in an effort to help her, right? So let me just ask, like, was it an official Border Patrol operation to push a female demonstrator onto the ground, into the snow? Yeah. Is that what? Oh, I'm so sorry that Alex Pretti impeded Border Patrol as they were physically assaulting a demonstrator who happened to be on the scene. Okay.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's like a ridiculous argument.
And I'm old enough to remember when the right wing believed in chivalry and honor and didn't think that it was cool or tough to assault women when you're armed and they're not, and to throw them down viciously. And then when a man actually tries to help that woman, all he was doing was trying to get her up, right? And that was a courageous thing to do. That was a manly thing to do. Now is the right wing position, no, if a woman's being assaulted, let her deal with her own problems. I don't want a felony, or I don't want anything like that. I'm gonna run away. That's the manly position? I just want to be clear, is that the right wing position, right? No, I thought he was plenty away from them. He helped when he saw that someone needed help. He takes care of veterans for a living, so he knows when somebody needs help. I just think he was incredibly brave. And then he did, and I've got to correct this. She said he laid hands on them. He didn't.
There's no evidence of him ever laying hands. It makes me wonder if she watched the video, because it seems like she's just regurgitating White House talking points from before the White House backed off of, lying about the incident because they realized, okay, people are on to us and they're furious that we're lying. But let's go to one more video featuring Megyn Kelly, because in this next one, she went even further and dragged George Floyd while doing it.
These are organized agitators who train to disrupt and in some cases hurt law enforcement. They go out there looking for confrontations that they can make go viral on their social media, or that they can use as propaganda to turn people against the good guys, the ones who are trying to rid us of the scourge of child molesting illegals. Even if I, Megyn Kelly, went to interrupt law enforcement conducting lawful arrests and law enforcement operations with a loaded gun, it tucked into the back of my pants, and then I engaged in a physical confrontation with them, where I'm shoving and they're shoving, I'd be in grave danger.
Where was he shoving? And he had a legal weapon, which he had a permit for concealed carry, and it was in a holster. And he didn't approach the Border Patrol agents. He didn't shove anyone. The only physical thing he did was place himself between the Border Patrol agents who had just shoved this woman. And I don't know if the woman was with him or not, right? But the woman was right there next to him. Again, the only thing he did, physically speaking, was get in between the Border Patrol agent and the woman that they had just knocked to the ground.
And I don't even think, you're phrasing it that way, and that is technically true, but I don't think his intent was to get in between them. He was trying to help her. He was just trying to help her get up.
Yes,
he was just trying to get her up.
That's exactly right.
Because they slammed her to the ground. Look, guys, again, another Rorschach test. For some on the right, they're looking at this like Pretti was a wild, out of control guy that bum rushed 6 agents. But we all saw the tape that's not what happened. They bum rushed him and the women. Actually, first they attacked the women, then they attacked Pretti.
Yeah, right? The woman, yeah. And by the way, so there's a new angle, new video that came out that we're gonna show you, okay? So ABC News aired it. So in the beginning of this ABC News report, you're gonna see the newer footage, and then halfway through, you're gonna see the older footage, which we've shown you. Dropsite News was the first to obtain it. So I wanted to give you that context. But watch the video carefully and let me know, does Alex Pretti fit the description that you just heard from Megyn Kelly?
This new video shows protesters and observers on the scene 6 minutes before the fatal shooting of Alex Pretti. Those protesters and observers sounded whistles as federal officers assembled by a donut shop to begin an immigration enforcement action. You can see the officers prepare pepper spray in this video. Pretti arrived a few moments later and is seen holding a cell phone, seemingly to record the ICE operation. Shortly after he was shot and killed, Homeland Security investigations said the FBI arrived to collect evidence, including Pretti's phone and the gun he had a legal permit to carry. Officials have not said what's on Pretti's phone or whether it could help determine whether the officers reasonably believe they were under threat. Customs and Border Protection officers involved in the deadly shooting were wearing body cameras. The agency says the footage is preserved, but it's unclear when or whether the public's going to see it.
So when I say he placed his body between the Border Patrol agent and the women, I mean, you see it in the tail end of that video, right? All he did was get him and go like this to protect her after she had been pushed to the ground by Border Patrol. So I want to know something, Megyn, like, do you have any questions about why Border Patrol felt the need to shove that woman to the ground? You just saw it for yourself, right? That it's in the video, it's very clear. What was the justification for that? Or are you going to provide cover for federal agents going around physically assaulting women like that, simply for existing in a public space?
Yeah, so I see what you're saying, Anna. Before he tries to get her up,
yeah,
he does get a little bit in between. I think the reason he raises his hand is to say, I'm not a threat.
Yeah, of course,
right?
Yes, yeah.
So like, and you see in the earlier video that we just showed you where before he got shot, ICE, the Border Patrol guy, pushes him back to the sidewalk. Again, it's Border Patrol moving him. And what does he do? He complies. Every time he complies, except when the woman is pushed down and he's trying to protect that woman from getting further hurt. And by the way, you saw again, the agent there immediately pulls out the pepper spray and tries to spray his face, right? And then of course, then they tackle him to the ground and eventually kill him. So what, you see that? Come on, guys. How do you not see that that's not what law enforcement should do? In fact, it goes to my next point. The folks who are defending ICE and Border Patrol here are saying, well, Pretti and the protesters have an obligation to not be anywhere near law enforcement. And here is a guy just putting his hands up with a video camera, etc. Couldn't be more benign, but they say, no, not good enough, right? How about law enforcement? Do they have any obligation not to viciously assault a woman and push her to the ground?
Oh no, I love my big government.
Yeah, do they have an obligation to not have 6 guys bum rush someone, take his gun away, shoot him 5 times, pause, and then shoot him another 5 times? Do they have that obligation? Don't they have that obligation to American citizens? Why does the obligation only go in one direction?
People forget, but let me remind you, they work for us.
Yes.
They work for us, okay? They're not our dictators, they're not our rulers. We're not supposed to have a tyrannical government. They work for us, okay? All these Americans who get their asses up every morning, okay, work their jobs, many of whom hate their jobs, but they work their jobs to make a living. Government takes a cut. And you know what happens with that cut? Big portion of it funds government agencies like DHS. Those bitches work for us, okay? So telling Americans that they don't have the right to do what the Constitution protects them to do is ridiculous. And using that as justification for a government official or a government agent in this case to just shoot and kill with impunity is ridiculous. That's where I stand on the issue. I stand in the issue of I pay you, then you work for me. Okay, you don't get to rule me. You don't get to violate my rights. It's that simple.
Yeah, one more thing about the videos we already showed, which is that Megyn said that they were child molesting illegals. No. First of all, the criminals were taken out right in the beginning of the administration. That was popular, and we're not talking about that anymore, right? But now when they're going after these mass deportations of people who didn't commit any crimes, they still keep calling them child molesting illegals as if they all did that, like 10, 12 million people, all are child molesting illegals. No, they do that to make you hate them. You don't have to hate them. You could want people removed. You could be in favor of mass deportations. I don't agree at all, but you could still be in favor of that and not think that they're all child molesters. That's made up. So the child molesters, everyone agrees, serve your sentence here because we should bring you to justice, and then you get removed. No one disagrees with that. Don't let them trick you with that.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what TikTok is like now that Larry Ellison owns a pretty big portion of it. And it's not good, it's pretty bad. We'll be right back.
All right, let's go to a super chat again, and then I'll go through the comments as quickly as I can. Mark Jacob 5 says, I feel like it's over after this. The Democrats will win the midterms and probably win the 2028 election, even an establishment Dem, my prediction. So Mark, whoa, take it easy. First of all, there's nothing that, no victory that the Democrat, no, I should put it this way, no defeat that the Democrats can't snatch from the jaws of victory. So hold, we haven't gotten to the elections yet. 2028 is a million years from now. Does the math. Not exactly, but still, you get my point. A lot of things will happen. Are you kidding me? So many things happen in 1 week, 2 weeks. There's gonna be like an unbelievable amount of activity before 2028. So yes, they look good for the 26 midterms. And the reason I care about that is take power away from a guy that is doing authoritarian things, right? And invading about half the planet. Okay, let's go to Super Platinum Man, the person who just joined a little while ago. Globalist Kushner unveiled a new Gaza plan at the World Economic Forum. I thought they hated the World Economic Forum. No, of course, yeah, I mean, that's a great point, because of course they're elitists. The global elites, that's Jared Kushner in a nutshell. So we're gonna get back to that story a little bit later. Dune Mirage Hafiz Protector says it's simple. Congress passed a massive DHS funding bill. Private companies, prison/tech, get billion-dollar contracts. Those companies donate a portion of profits back to the politicians' campaigns. This cycle repeats.
Isn't that kind of like money laundering, like in a way?
Yeah, well, the whole money in politics is money laundering, right? So, look, the Israeli lobby gives $100 million, which is what they did in the last election cycle, right? To Congress, let alone the $137 million to Donald Trump, from one family alone, let alone the others that came in for Trump. So what do they, well, that's a lot of money. That's like $250 million. What do they get in return? Trump has already given them 3.3 billion and 8.6 billion, and he's working on a 10 to 20 year memorandum of understanding that might give them 100 billion. So 250, a quarter of a billion gets you potentially 112 billion. Well, that's a great deal, and that's how the, this bribery, money laundering, et cetera, happens. We legalized it here. That's why it's a sickness and it's destroying the country. We got to pass a constitutional amendment. Wolfpack. Mika Darv says, "Dear America, thank you for showing Alberta's separatists what they have in store for them. Love Canada." That's a unique, funny comment, but I understand what you're saying. Nobody wants this. The
separatist stuff is so dumb. Like whether it's here in the US or in Canada, like just, it's not gonna happen. Get it together.
Although they nearly passed it once, it really came close. But there's no point, guys. Stick together, stick together. Okay, Seb Medic says, and this is a really interesting point. Welcome to 2026, where from my cold dead hands is a reality. That's powerful, brother. Okay, so that kind of literally happened, and then ironically, the right wing cheered it. So, or at least big portions of it did. Ronan DLB 8158 on the YouTube member section says, Senate Democrats don't know what leverage is. Totally right. Ali Patold says, I love Anna's sweater. So do I. I think it's a lovely sweater. And I'm about to run out of time, and I did. We'll be right back. On TYT, the online news network. Cenk Uygur experiment with you guys. And Melody Loves Music gifted 5 memberships. Well, we love Melody. You're awesome. Thank you for doing that again on YouTube. Anna.
Well, we got to talk about TikTok. If you've been on TikTok, you might have noticed it's a little different, and I'll tell you why. So, over the weekend, TikTok users claimed that they were being censored for criticizing the Trump administration. Now, maybe it was all in their heads. Maybe they were just imagining it. But keep in mind, just last week, the app was finally divested from Chinese ownership. It is now co-owned by Oracle CEO Larry Ellison. And remember, when we talk about him, whatever we do, we don't rub our hands like villains, okay? Because that is anti-Semitic. Now, Cenk, your 2 cents.
He's like, we took over. No, okay. So guys, TikTok's dead. So I'll just get to the end of the story. So we're gonna show you all the things that they're doing to manipulate. I haven't done a TikTok video in a while. It literally since they announced that Ellison was gonna take it over. And as Anna tells you the facts of the case here, I'm gonna connect the dots. I think that they're changed their algorithm in a specific way, and it's accidentally having an effect about the Alex Pretti coverage. So I'll get to my theory in a second, but first the facts.
So the news cycle has been dominated by the story of Alex Pretti, who was shot and killed by Border Patrol agents. But some TikTok users are stating that TikTok was suppressing videos having to do with ICE and President Donald Trump. So California State Senator Scott Wiener, who I have absolutely no love for at all, I think that he is a detriment to the state of California, I just wanted to get that out there, shared a post about this saying that TikTok is now state-controlled media. This morning I posted a TikTok about my legislation allowing people to sue ICE agents. It's sitting at 0 views, and I'm not the only person this is happening to. So in the bright red circle, you'll see the video in question. The video you can see has absolutely no views compared to his other videos, which in some cases have hundreds of thousands, in some cases tens of thousands of views. Okay. Now, other creators also stated their ICE-related videos were getting throttled or 0 views, at all, like no videos at all. So we'll go to Jules next, friend of the show. He says the new TikTok algorithm has 0, and I mean absolutely 0 news or politics content, not one word about anything going on at all, not even the weather. Interesting. And if these political figures or commentators aren't really doing it for you, you're still not buying it. Well, we've got Billie Eilish, right? Eilish. You know how to say it?
Barely. So don't test me.
Okay. Anyway, she does the singing, right?
I believe she does.
Yeah, okay. All right, anyway, sorry. So she slammed TikTok for seemingly suppressing political content as well. And we'll note that those issues were absolutely widespread. So certain TikTok users experienced those glitches regardless of whether or not they were trying to comment on the Trump administration. But there's more. Users are also reporting the following. Days after the US took over majority ownership of TikTok, the word Epstein has been censored. Gee, I wonder why. And there's a screenshot showing that the word Epstein is not allowed. Democratic politicians are now accusing TikTok's new majority owner, Larry Ellison, of changing the app to protect President Donald Trump. Interestingly enough, they had nothing to say when Larry Ellison talked about how he plans on surveilling every single American citizen to make sure that they're on their best behavior. They had nothing to say about that.
Yeah.
But we can't use this social media platform to go after our political opponents anymore. We're gonna speak out against that. Interesting.
Yeah. So I love when they accidentally tell on themselves. So if you don't know, Larry Ellison is the biggest donor to the IDF. He gave them $16 million in the middle of a genocide as charity, like attaboy, kill more Palestinians. So that's who Larry Ellison is. And they made it very clear, Netanyahu said on tape, we gotta go get the social media, including TikTok, because it's not to our advantage. Mitt Romney and other American politicians made it clear the TikTok sale had nothing to do with China. That was just an excuse. They were trying to buy it so that it's censored on behalf of Israel. And Romney talked about the Israelis are normally good at PR, but I guess we gotta make sure we force a TikTok sale. So that's why TikTok was purchased. So that's why I think it's now total junk. There is no fact pattern where Larry Ellison spends billions of dollars on TikTok and then allows you to do anti-Israel videos on TikTok. Not going to happen. But where's the part where they told on themselves? Wait, who said Jeffrey Epstein was connected to Israel? Like, we've said it. Drop Site News, I think, has pretty much proven it.
At this point, everyone's saying it.
No. But my point is, for Larry Ellison and establishment media, they claim that's an outrageous position.
Well, I think Larry Ellison is outrageous, period. So I don't care.
No, my point is, as they're saying, connecting Epstein to Israel is outrageous and anti-Semitic. They're like, get rid of all the Epstein content to protect Israel.
They really got to stop saying.
Oh, so that's a confession. So why are you, if Epstein had to do with Norway or had to do with no other country, why is Larry Ellison, the biggest Israel fan in the world, blocking Epstein content? Oh, so it is connected.
Of course it is.
Thank you for the confession, Larry Ellison.
Yeah.
Okay, so now here's my theory as to why the Alex Pretti got blocked. So is he there? Are they kissing Trump's ass? Maybe, but they already got what they wanted out of Trump, which is this sale, the forced sale, so they could buy it. By the way, they also bought it for cheap. That's a whole nother story. So in this case, I think what they're doing is one of the oldest. I don't want to say it's a trick. It's a thing that happens online with the different platforms, and they have different barometers for how much of it they'll allow. But a lot of the platforms don't allow for violence, right? So if it's just a fight for fight's sake, or there's blood, there's a lot of different rules that the different platforms have. And so I get some of the logic of that, and most of the platforms do that legitimately, whether you agree or disagree. They don't want to encourage a lot of that content because if you keep showing violence, people will watch it. So they purposely suppress it to some degree. And so now, again, huge range there, and most of the platforms struggle with it. How much do we show? How much do we? What should our rules be, right? But that's a perfect excuse for, oh, well, we just can't show any violence on TikTok anymore. Oh, did that ban every video coming out of Gaza? Oh, I guess it accidentally banned every single video coming out of Gaza. Oh, and then it caught Alex Pretti and all that because that's also violence. So I think that that's what's happening here. And
no, I just think they're censoring political news. I think that's what's happening. No, and I hear what you're saying, especially platforms that have advertisers. It's the advertisers that dominate and control everything because they don't want to advertise on content that's deemed violent or would make the brand look bad in their eyes. So that content moderation does exist. But in the case of TikTok, I do believe that there is a very intentional effort here to censor political content, particularly political content that is not friendly to Israel, or maybe even political content that's critical of Trump, who knows? But TikTok has responded to these claims, and they claim that, no, there's no censorship happening, don't worry. It's just that we had issues due to a power outage at a US data center. Videos weren't actually receiving 0 views, that was only a display error, and that the word Epstein is not blocked. Can we go back to that Epstein graphic, please? That was graphic 3. Oh, that's interesting because this individual got a notice that said that the message, which contained the word Epstein, may be in violation of our community guidelines and has not been sent to protect our community. If you believe this was a mistake, let us know. I don't think it was a mistake. I think that was very much intentional. So
it's just one word there.
Yeah, and by the way, you are right in that the main motivation to divest TikTok from its previous Chinese owners had more to do with controlling the narrative about Israel, right? And our politicians just told us that that's the case, so we should believe them. Like, let's stop playing this game where either Israeli government officials or US government officials or politicians tell us straight up what they're doing and what their motivations are. And then we still have a debate about, oh, what are they doing and what are their motivations? I'll tell you what their motivations are. This is from The Dissident. They wrote a great piece about this, kind of comprehensively putting all of these different statements together. Mike Gallagher admitted that the real story behind passing the bill on TikTok, we had a bipartisan consensus. We had an executive branch, but the bill was still dead until October 7th. And people started to see a bunch of anti-Semitic content on the platform. Of course, they think anything that's critical of Israel is anti-Semitic, just period. And our bill had legs again. Similarly, Mitt Romney, we've shown you this video before, admitted that the real reason behind bipartisan support for the bill was because, quote, if you look at the postings on TikTok and the number of mentions of Palestinians relative to other social media sites, it's overwhelmingly so among TikTok broadcasts. So basically, TikTok is being used to disseminate accurate information about how evil the Israeli government and military is, and we just can't have that. US Representative Mike Lawler also admitted that student protests against the genocide in Gaza were, quote, exactly why we included the TikTok bill in the foreign supplemental aid package, because you're seeing how these kids are being manipulated by certain groups or entities or countries to foment hate on their behalf and really create a hostile environment here in the US.
It's funny because that's comment was accidentally foreshadowing of what Larry Ellison was going to do on TikTok.
100%. And by the way, you want to know what Mike Gallagher did after? Mike Gallagher later took $135,308 from the pro-Israel lobbying group American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, when he was in government, and since leaving office became the head of defense business at Palantir.
Oh yeah. Of course. Israel butters their bread, and then they take our money and give it to them. They take our companies and social media and give it to them, etc. It's just open bribery. Almost all of Congress works for Israel. TikTok, censor that, okay, and also kiss my ass. So here's what's gonna happen with TikTok. So they think they're gonna be subtle and cute, and they're definitely gonna ban all content that criticizes Israel. That's the whole point of the purchase. So that is locked in. Once that happens, they think, we will now trick the young kids. They will stay on here and love Israel. You're not gonna trick anyone. Eventually, what's gonna happen is a chant is gonna start across the country. My space, my space, my space. So if you don't remember, this is a long time ago, MySpace was a big upcoming social media platform until the Murdochs bought it.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Is that why it died?
Yeah. Of course. So I can't wait for that to happen to TikTok. So Rupert Murdoch's like, I will now be hip with the young kids, and we will do propaganda on this platform called MySpace. It died within like 6 months. Everybody was like, Murdoch owns it? Let's get out of here.
It's amazing.
You know why? Hey, Larry, I love that you wasted all your money on that trying to do propaganda. The internet is large. We could just go somewhere else.
Yeah, including here at TYT, where after the break, we're gonna trash Israel.
All right, guys, so let's go to Twitch real quick. It's Just Vegas says right-wingers don't realize he would do that to any of them, referring to Trump. He agitated all these people to do the January 6th riot and hid in the basement. They still don't get it. No, look, now I'll make another outrageous prediction. At some point, not just independents, but a very sizable chunk of MAGA is going to realize that Trump conned them.
I think, yeah, I mean.
And when that happens, he's not gonna have to worry about the left, because that portion of MAGA will be so angry, he'll mainly have to worry about them. Okay, let's see if I'm right, but that's my sense of it. Because brother, it's only like because of the internet, they can't bottle things up anymore. Eventually, even MAGA is gonna find out that Trump's a con man. They're already finding out in a lot of ways. All right, Operation Joy's comments have started to come in. I love it. Great Operation Joy stories today. So make sure you're sticking around. That's gonna happen in about 20 minutes here.
I took a little peek. Little peek at your submissions.
They were
really good, yeah.
They were really good, yeah. So that's coming up in a little bit. Turkish Taffy says, Anna, you're too young to be a boomer. Referring to the Billie Eilish comment.
Thank you.
Okay, Dirge says they will continue to buy up sources of dissent. They will come for TYT eventually. No, brother. I mean, good news, bad news. They're kind of doing the opposite. They're trying to make sure that no one invests in us. Because, and I'm super proud of this, because the word's out in the street, we are uncontrollable.
Yep, it's totally true.
Yeah, they're like, don't even bother. It's not gonna work, okay? So I love that they know that. Goddamn right. Uncontrollable is a good definition for us. Progressive 1776 says, my brother is in his second year of residency and worked with Alex Pretti during his residency. Wow.
Wow.
So your brother worked with a hero. I'm telling you, man, I mean, I think I could see, I'd be surprised if there wasn't an Alex Pretti statue in Minneapolis at some point, and maybe other cities.
You know, it kind of goes to show you that for obviously not everyone on the right. There are plenty of people on the right who condemned the Alex Pretti shooting and the government's response to it. But for those who are defending what happened to Alex Pretti today, it goes to show you that it doesn't matter how perfect the victim was, right? Like, so with George Floyd, it's like, oh, well, he was addicted to drugs and he had this record. And with Alex Pretti, he's got a squeaky clean record, but they still justify federal agents killing him.
Yeah, and they still do character assassination.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, so I was asking for a tough Democrat, and Don Dada Dragon wrote in, Bain for Senate 2026. Gotham is yours. Okay, victory has defeated you. You can say that to Schumer. All right, Liberty Isn't Free says, I don't get why we take stories from CNN and at the same time Cenk complains that the mainstream media is trash. So it's a great question.
That is a great question.
Because of what Noam Chomsky says. Look, we have to get facts from somewhere. And I asked him about this in an interview. And he said, I get my facts from places like CNN and mainstream media and New York Times. But you have to divorce it from the framing. So our job is to give you the facts and strip away the framing and the lies that surround the facts. We'll be back.
Time to knuckle up.
All right, I like that music, and Bart, I'm glad you reminded me of that Ojeda quote. Time to knuckle up. I'm gonna keep saying that again.
Knuckle up.
That's right. And Jim Ranson and Jeffrey Kukik, thank you for joining, guys. We appreciate it. They hit that beautiful join button below the video on YouTube. Casper.
All right, we will end today's show on a discussion about how much I loathe Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's people with a focused ideology. And the ideology is to destroy the West. And for this purpose, they've made common cause with the most ultra anti-Western progressives, and they have united. And they supposedly should disagree on everything, but they don't, because they want to destroy the West as we know it. And they agree on one thing. What is the thing that they agree on? World War Jew.
Well, the footage that you see right beside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't carried out by radical Muslims or radical progressives. It was carried out by him, a genocidal lunatic who has the audacity to give a speech in which he starts pointing fingers at others for wanting to tear down Western civilization. He did so at another one of these events, the Second International Conference on Combating Anti-Semitism. It took place in Jerusalem. Before I give you more details, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so I might make this 3 or 4. So first off, I can't stand the way he hides behind Jewish people. Yep. And so I'm like, when I see him talk, I see like Hitler saying, "Nah, I'm doing this for the Christians," okay? And remember, if you're not pro-Holocaust, you're anti-Christian. It's bigoted against Christians if you don't support my Holocaust.
Yep.
That's what I see. And so, and remember guys, this propaganda is not for any of us. That ship has sailed. Okay, we see what the monstrosity that Israel has become, unfortunately. And they can get back to sanity and back to a 2-state solution, but they need new leadership. What this is mainly intended for is actually Jewish Americans and Jews across the world. Remember, it's World War Jew. They're gonna kill you all unless you support Israel. Give me your money, give me your money, give me your support. Remember, they're out to get you, they're out to get you. Support my genocide. So that's what this propaganda is for, and it's disgusting. No, it is not a pro-Jewish position to be pro-genocide. I would argue it's the opposite.
I totally agree with you. Now, again, Netanyahu was speaking at the Second International Conference on Combating Anti-Semitism in Jerusalem, and the event, unsurprisingly, featured a murderer's row of right-wing Israeli and European politicians, along with pro-Israel influencers who get paid to spread propaganda that's favorable to Israel. And according to the Times of Israel, discussions focused heavily on the threat posed by jihadist movements abroad, and they also emphasized, this is an emphasis of the European right wing, likely because they have dealt with various waves of Muslim refugees who come into their country as a result of being displaced from their own countries as the United States fights wars in the Middle East on Israel's behalf, of course. So I mean, look, if you guys are worried about that, maybe Israel should take some of these displaced individuals into Israel, right?
Yeah, and let them vote.
The Afghanis, the Iraqis, the people from Libya, Syria. How many Syrian refugees did Israel take in? They were desperate to oust Bashar al-Assad, destroyed that country, annexed land. How many Syrians are now living in Israel for safe harbor? None? Oh, okay, great. So they create refugee crises. They have the US do their dirty work for them. And then you have these refugees who have nowhere to go, their country's been blown to smithereens. And you have people in Europe enraged about this, but not enraged at Israel, not enraged at the United States, not enraged over these dirty wars. They're enraged because the innocent civilians who were displaced now need a place to go.
Yeah.
So we're gonna smear them and call them radical jihadists. It's just the whole thing is so sick. Yeah. So disgusting.
So a couple of things about that. First, when we say they understand, always referring to Israel and Israel's government, because in fact, 70% of Jewish Americans are on the left. So he's saying that the people on the left are working with Muslims to destroy the West. But wait a minute, 70% of Jewish Americans are on the left. So who are you talking about?
You don't think he'd throw them under the bus?
Of course, no, that's my point. He is throwing them under the bus.
I know, yeah.
He's throwing them under the bus in two different ways, okay? And then secondly, look, guys, we're fighting all these wars, but mainly and he does all that anti-Muslim propaganda. The Muslims are going to destroy the West.
No,
right?
I think Israel has destroyed the West.
Yeah,
actually, they've destroyed international law. It means nothing anymore. I mean, take responsibility for what you've done, Netanyahu. You've destroyed the West.
And they're constantly talking about like, oh, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism. Oh my God, that's the real problem. Meanwhile, and at the same time, you should hate Muslims. Muslims are the problem. Muslims are trying to destroy the. Let's murder the Muslims. Let's murder them because they're the real problem, right? You want to talk about bigotry? You just did you did a nuclear case of bigotry. I don't know anyone more bigoted on planet Earth than Netanyahu, who tells everyone that the Muslims are evil, the Muslims are the problem, and you should murder Muslims on his genocidal behalf, okay? And yes, sorry, but if you're in Israel, now this is broader, okay, I'm being clear. If you're in favor of an ethno state that says only Jews, and Jews should run the whole country, and why don't they allow other immigrants in?
Pinnacle of Western values, right?
That's not Western values. If you have a Muslim ethno state, I'm against it, like Saudi Arabia and Iran. If you have a Christian ethno state, I'm against it. But we're supposed to love an ethno state just because it's Jewish? No, it isn't that we're against Jews. We're just saying same bucket, Muslims, Christians, Jews. You shouldn't have an ethno state because what does it lead to? By definition, it leads to bigotry.
Yeah.
If you're in Iran and you're in a Muslim state, by definition, Muslims get extra privileges, right? And get to be superior to others because it's a Muslim state. That is true in Israel as well. And that is why they have been brutal to the Palestinians. They have enslaved them for 58 years and they have their thumb on them and go, you're never gonna be free. They voted that way. We're never going to allow you to have freedom. They say they're inferior to us.
Yeah.
And you're the biggest racist in the world. Let's get it real. Israel's one of the most racist countries I have ever seen because they literally say it. They literally say it. This is a Jewish state and we're gonna dominate you, and we're gonna enslave those Muslims, and we're gonna get the whole world to hate them and to kill them. No, that is deeply racist, deeply bigoted, and sorry, but it's not just Netanyahu. On that one, it's Israel.
So we're gonna pause for a second because I couldn't help but notice that we've got some fresh new B-roll, stock imagery of, I'm assuming, individuals who are supposed to be Muslim, and I thought it was fun. So can we pull that up for a second, please, while I talk about, just fun videos. 2 Muslim women hanging out, they're just cooking, they're slicing some watermelon.
Yeah. I like these. You know why? And I'm glad you took a pause to cool me down, let alone anything else. Because that shows Muslims as human beings.
Yep.
And Netanyahu's gonna hate those pictures. No, remember, they're boogeymen. Oh, they're evil Muslims, he says, as if, and then they go, anti-Semite, right? Like, shut up forever about that. Because you obviously love bigotry. No, Muslims are real human beings. And if you're an Israeli, these days that probably shocked you. How dare he, it's anti-Semitic to say that Muslims are human. No, it's not, you're the bigots, sorry, but it's 100% reality.
So during his speech, Netanyahu warned that the only thing standing in the way of a Muslim takeover of Europe is Israel. Let's watch.
Every country in Western Europe and in America, it's being invaded not by people of a different color, a different race, a different faith. That's not the point. It's people with a focused ideology. And the ideology is to destroy the West, to conduct a world war, first against the Jews and against the Jewish state. And for the radical Muslims, they are right, because there would be no West in the Middle East if the Jewish state is eradicated. There would be no obstacle for the further invasion of Europe if the Jewish state doesn't exist.
Israel is at the very center of the various refugee crises that have occurred in the Middle East. Israel, with the help of the United States, has destroyed Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And this guy has the audacity to pretend as though Israel, they're benevolent, not even benevolent. They go out of their way to help. They're trying to prevent the evil Muslim invasion of these European countries. It's like such a joke.
Israel, can you please stop electing Hitler? Is that too much to ask for?
It appears that is too much to ask for because they keep electing this guy. But hold on, I got.
No, Anna, tell them about the hospitals. I want to get.
Okay, I will get to that. But which country is trying to goad the United States into a war with Iran, a country of 92 million people? Israel is. Okay.
Warmongers.
Yeah.
Israel is the biggest warmonger in the world.
So currently, Netanyahu and the Israeli government is blocking Palestinians in Gaza who are severely wounded and in need of medical attention from being able to leave the Gaza Strip in order to get said medical attention. So back in November, a group of 5 human rights organizations, including Israeli groups, petitioned the High Court in Israel, demanding that the state restart the evacuations of patients from Gaza to hospitals in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, which was typical pre-October 7th, but now is severely restricted, honestly blocked for the most part. They argue that Israel is violating its obligations recognized by both Israeli and international law to protect the lives of Palestinian civilians in Gaza. According to the petition, about 16,500 people in Gaza, many of them children, elderly people, and women, are in life-threatening danger because the medical treatment they need is no longer available due to the collapse of the healthcare system during the genocide where Israel bombed every single hospital in the Gaza Strip. I just wanted to make sure that Haaretz reported that accurately. The signatories said that since the petitions were filed, the number of patients at risk has now grown to 18,500.
So that is the number of people who could die because Israel will not let them out of the country, even though they're gravely ill or injured by Israel. Israel killed over 70,000 people, bare minimum, and injured over 130,000. And now for the gravely injured, they're like, no, you're in a concentration camp and you will not be allowed out. You're gonna go die in that concentration camp after we bombed you and we created these problems in the first place. And I wanna read you the quote from Haaretz. This is Israeli press. There's an irony here that I love the Israeli press because they can't be called anti-Semites, so they do actual news. Whereas our press is a bunch of bitches who work for Israel and are dogs of Israel who do nothing but Israeli propaganda. So Israeli press, you should be super proud of what you're doing. You're bringing some truth to the world. Haaretz wrote, Israel's government told the High Court on Monday that it is standing by its refusal to allow the evacuation of seriously ill patients from the Gaza Strip for potentially life-saving medical treatment. Who doesn't let people out for life-saving medical treatment?
Israel.
Pure evil doesn't allow that. There's no excuse at all, at all. So like, I get it. There's people who, because of ethnic loyalties, are blind, and they're purposely blind. They don't want to hear any of the news from Israel. They say, oh, no, it's all the Palestinians' fault. They had it coming. They made us murder 20,000 kids. They made us not, now they're gonna pretend somehow it's the Palestinians' fault that we're not allowing those people to leave and we're making them die there. The Palestinians made us murder them? No, they didn't. You chose to murder them, and you are making that choice right now, having nothing to do with terrorism. Because they want to kill them, they want to take their land. They've already taken 53% of Gaza. They're already planning to build condos on the land that was stolen, and they're going to build those luxury condos for Israelis, not for the Palestinians. They're giant liars, and I can guarantee it to you. No way, unless something dramatically changes, there's no way they're gonna let the Palestinians have that. What they're gonna do is they're gonna build it they're gonna get United Arab Emirates and others to give them billions of dollars, and they're gonna build condos for themselves on the graves of dead Palestinian children. Israel, you've got to turn around. It's not because the rest of the world irrationally hates you. Oh, there's nothing we can do. They all hate Jews. Netanyahu told me. He told me 1,000,000 times, it's World War Jew, and they just irrationally hate us. No, it has nothing to do with being Jewish.
Stop killing innocent people.
It has to do with a
Stop killing innocent people.
A government, the Ottoman government did the Armenian genocide. Not all Turks are guilty forever and ever. It doesn't have to do with that. These genocides happen for different races and different religions, and unfortunately that sickness moves around. And right now that sickness is smack dab in the middle of Israel. And a lot of folks with a lot of power are choosing blindness on purpose. They don't want to see it. They don't want to see it because it can't be them. It can't be their people. It has to be someone else. But I'm sorry, you got to wake up. Otherwise, the genocide's going to continue. Otherwise, they're going to let those 18,000 people die because you refuse to look at the reality of what Israel has become. I'm sorry, and I hate to break your heart if you're in that group, but it's become a monster. It's attacked all of its neighbors. It's killed all of these people, and it's not going to stop. They're not gonna stop killing, they're not gonna stop attacking, and they're never going to stop taking American money to do it. So we cannot fund these fascists anymore. There's a very clear fascist state in the world, and it is Israel. And we should send them zero, not another dollar to a fascist state. Let those poor innocent, injured and sick leave, for God's sake. Do you have any morality at all? If you're in favor of that policy, it's not just Netanyahu. You're evil if you think that policy makes sense. I don't want any BS excuses about, the Palestinians had it coming. No, they don't. You see how evil you look when you say outrageous things like that. I know that you can't get it through your head, but we're trying to help you. We don't want the world to hate Israel.
I have no interest in helping Israel. I want nothing to do with Israel. I want to pull all support, all US support away from Israel. And look, our country enables it. Our country funds it, aids and abets it. Without the United States, Israel can't do what it's doing right now. That's what I want. I don't give a damn about Israel. I don't give a damn. I don't care about whether Israel exists or not. I just want nothing to do with Israel. That's my take on Israel. I want to be open and clear about that.
Can we just get to 2 states and to peace? And what Israel keeps saying is, no, we don't want peace. We want land, and we'll kill any Palestinian, and we'll smear all Muslims, and we'll try to get the whole world to hate someone based on their religion. And that is the most ironic thing in the world for a Jewish state to do. All right, we're gonna put all of that aside now. and we're gonna go in the completely opposite direction. When we come back, this used to be just for our members, but our members are beautiful, open-hearted, open-minded folks, and we voted on this, and they've opened it up to everyone. We're gonna come back and do Operation Joy, and I swear to you that it's gonna lighten your mood. We've got some amazing stories there, and one thing I'm super psyched about, one of the things that I asked people to do to make themselves a little bit happier, apparently worked for at least one person, and we have that story tonight. So that's coming up next. Back on Operation Joy, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. There's so many amazing comments. I don't think we'll be able to get to all of them. We're gonna try as quickly as we can. And I'm gonna put in a couple of lessons here as we go along. First comment is my favorite, even though every comment this time is amazing. But Sharon Tutt wrote this in. First time commenter on Operation Joy, but I catch a segment every chance I get. I accepted your mission, Cenk, and I'm here to tell you focusing on joy for a few minutes each day has been hard. Okay.
I feel you.
Yeah, with everything going on both personally and out in the world. And Sharon, I knew it was gonna be hard, and I told you, like, hey, we're not used to it. We automatically go, ooh, am I allowed to feel happy, right? Or is that some sort of like insult to all the pain that's going in the world, right? So, okay, but listen to the rest of Sharon's story. She said, I live in Western North Carolina, made it through the flood here in Asheville, and had been wanting to get back into bicycling. It was hard, but I finally got an e-bike a year ago.
Yes, yes. Okay,
Queen. And the joy I get from pushing myself to get in better shape is immense. The box my bike was delivered in has a graphic on it that reads, it's a great day to have a great day. And I love that. And in fact, she wrote, love that, so I cut it out and put it where it is the first thing I see every day. When Cenk proposed a challenge to spend a few minutes focusing on joy, I started beginning each day repeating the great day mantra and being joyful, then combined it with my partner's new focus on trying to be mindful to turn the frown upside down and have a resting smile face. So every day when I wake up, I see the sign, think about what brings me joy, and drop into that feeling before starting my day. So now at this point, as I'm reading Sharon's story, I'm so curious how this turned out. So let's find out. She said, it works. I am happier and more energized starting each day. It's just a couple of minutes that I can honestly say is game changing. Thank you for that and fighting the good fight. Keep it up. Yeah. Oh my God, Sharon, now you've made me really happy. I can't believe it worked for one person. Good enough, good enough. There's a saying in Islam, if you save one person, you've saved the world, okay? It's a beautiful saying that's in the Quran, right? So, and Sharon, you're not, As you know, you've got your whole life. You still have the troubles, you still have the stress, you still have all the pressure and all these different things, right? But you did it. I'm so proud of you. You built a fortress of joy. It might be a small one, but my guess is as you get used to it and you get more and more comfortable with it and it feels less and less awkward, that fortress will grow. And so it doesn't mean that it's gonna take over your whole life and you still gotta pay the bills. But there's nothing wrong with having a couple of minutes a day or 5 minutes a day where you just think positive thoughts. You think happy thoughts, and in a little bit, based on some other comments that came in, I'm gonna give you a way to triple your happiness. But isn't that amazing, Anna?
I love it, I love it. And it kind of goes to the point that you've been making throughout this whole Operation Joy project, which is happiness is a choice, right? And we're all so busy that you forget to be present. And if you're really present, you can't help but take note of the good things that are happening to you on a daily basis, right? It might be small, but it still should be recognized. And when you make a point to recognize those things, you do become happier and a lot more grateful, for your own circumstances. Regardless of what those circumstances might be, there's something that you should feel fortunate about.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And look, you could do both. There's no reason why you can't do both. You don't have to live in sad land the whole time, or angry, or frustrated, or stressed land. Those are all places we do live in, right? And sometimes we have to, right? But you could also create a little area for joy and happiness and bliss and all those wonderful things. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, as Sharon found out, and a lot of you will find out if you do it, it's a pretty beautiful place. And by the way, you also need that to re-energize so you can tackle the world and all the other things you gotta deal with. All right, so now let's go to more. Sally Mama wrote in, and when I first saw it, I thought it was Salty Mama, and I thought maybe it was Anna. But no, it's Sally Mama. So she writes in, yesterday while driving on I-80, I saw the largest group I've ever seen on the overpass near Berkeley. We saw the and quote, we saw the video, ICE kills, DHS lies, ICE out. I wish I'd been out there with them, but it does my heart good to see so many people out assembling peacefully and denouncing what is going on. Well, I'll add to that. As I said during the show, guys, I mean, it looks like you kind of did it. There were enough protesters and enough people with tremendous courage that you've pushed Trump back. And now he's taken out bovine disease from Minnesota. Noma's on the ropes. They're talking about retreating. Those are American heroes, those protesters. And I keep talking about building a statue of Pretti because he risked his life. And now we find out he had broken ribs from an earlier encounter, and he still goes out there, and what does he do? His instinct is to protect. Oh, I love that. And you not just protect those people, by the way, you protected the country and our freedoms. So that was awesome. So like in the old, some of the other protests that I was just like, okay, good, I'm happy with it, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen next. Like no kings and stuff. It was good, and I loved that a lot of folks showed up, but I don't know what step 2 is. But in the ICE protests, the impact is clear,
and
right?
they have yeah, that's exactly right. The impact is clear, and the ask is very clear.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, we can't remove Trump from office, so I don't know what we do next with no kings. Again, no disrespect, it's still good, but in this case, we want ICE to leave, and now they're kind of leaving because of the protests. So anyways, I'm just quadrupling down on what Sally Mama said. Okay, Zelda Symphony wrote in, I used to sing in choirs, musical theater, symphony orchestra. My name is literally from the most joyous moments in my life. You can find my actual work on YouTube to hear wonderful Zelda music. I also sang in the National Geographic Symphony for its inaugural concert and a couple more. I have the only live recordings of the shows and sadly not online yet. I have not been on stage since 2019, I miss it. Well, on an odd day, but I swear it's real, I'm singing at the Carnegie Hall in New York City on April 1st, 2026. Oh, wow. That's great. I read it quickly and I didn't realize, oh, that's coming up. Okay, they announced tickets today. I will put the link in the reply if anyone in the area wants to go. I will have so much joy again singing on stage and bringing others joy. That's beautiful. And then she continues, I don't know if anyone I know will or can go, as my family's from California and I'm mostly solo on the East Coast. Speaking of solo, I will not be singing solo anyway. This is my joy that I have been waiting to do And it will also be my first time in New York City. So I don't know what I'm going to do outside of rehearsing and singing. Also, I'm poor, so not sure what a poor person can do there.
In New York City?
Yeah, that one's tough.
That is rough, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, and there it is, guys. And by the way, you go to tyt.com/joy and see that at any time. Just scroll down until you get to Zelda Symphony and see that concert, and you could attend it on April 1st. That's coming up in New York City. And I know how you got to Carnegie Hall. With practice. So seriously though, look, I've had those moments where I really wanted a tryout on radio or on TV, and then I got an opportunity, and when I got an opportunity, it felt so amazing. That's one of the best feelings in the world. So soak it in, and it sounds like you are. So I love it. And we're all so happy on your behalf. All right, I'll come back to these, but Anna, you got a couple there?
Yes, I do. There's a lot. So let me start with Jeremy, Dad Joke Dragon, who says, Operation Joy, I love that my job as a librarian leads me to cool places and fun ways to serve people in the community. Most recently, okay, so this is about me. Sorry, I'm kind of reading it blind. Most recently, Anna accepted an invitation to speak remotely at a national program called Great Decisions. It takes a look at global issues and gives people from all backgrounds the space to discuss them. The subject Anna will be discussing, the future of human rights and international law. I can think of no one better to speak about that topic. Jeremy, you're very sweet. I can definitely think of other people who are better to speak on the topic, but I appreciate what you're saying. One of my usual speakers passed on speaking this year because of fear of attracting attention from the wrong people. It's sad and awful, but understandable. Thank you all at TYT for speaking about this and other important subjects continuously and keeping us informed about what's really going on. Jeremy, I'm happy to do it. Thank you for asking me. If anything, I feel joy, and I feel incredibly flattered that you even considered me to do this. So I'm happy to do it. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Dope Intellect writes in, and these are all on tyt.com/joy. So go participate there, read others, put your own in. My joy is watching TYT, they say. First started following politics in 2011, and I tried watching CNN to get to know politics. I couldn't understand what they were talking about. I prayed that I could find out what's going on and why. Then I found TYT, joined October 2011 and have never looked back. You all have made my life immeasurably better and gave me such a sense of purpose.
Well, you got that dope intellect.
Okay, yes, indeed.
I love this, thank you. Thank you so much, because you wanna know something? I do a good job at making difficult news stories easy to digest.
I think that's what they're saying. So thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And I love that you wanted to find out and that you had a sense that, well, this CNN guys, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is really what's going on here. And that just makes me feel obviously great because I was talking about this on a different show, and I kind of, when I set up, no, not on a show, actually it was in a meeting that we had. When I set up Young Turks, I was pretty naive. I thought everyone was in the news business. Now I find out, no, a lot of the media is in the marketing business, right? And so that's why we don't get a lot of money, because normally people give money for like a marketing thing that they want. So if you're like doing an insidery publication, well, people want to give that money because then that's going to lead to more, government largesse for Lockheed Martin and Pfizer, et cetera. So they're going to get money back from that, right? And so then you read that outlet and you think it's a real news outlet, but no, it's just really marketing for those donors. And that's why they paid so much for it. When they come to us, they're not getting any of that marketing, they're getting truth. And the investor, like, not everybody, so there's good folks in the investor community, but a lot of them think, well, I don't want that. I want you to trick people into supporting me. So like Daily Wire got started by brothers that are in the fracking business. So they wanted, and they just gave Ben Shapiro money to start that.
As opposed to an investment, which.
As opposed to an investment where you have to make the money back and you have to make a profit. So we have, ironically, we live like a capitalist every day, right? But the right wingers don't. They get all this money.
They take
Why?
handouts.
Yeah, they do. They take total handouts. And it's because it's not a handout. They then have to return the favor by saying the things they're supposed to say. By the way, Charlie Kirk took $400 million for Turning Point USA. Not an investment, they just gave it to him. But it came with strings attached. So we don't want those strings, we don't need those strings.
I wanna be wild.
We are a little wild and uncontrolled. But the fact that we've served you guys for all these years and you've been watching since 2011 and getting something out of it, that's all the payment I need. Yeah. Plus, we need to survive and be sustainable. But I love you guys for being members. Hit the join button if you can, because that's how we, we're doing marketing for you guys. In a sense, think about it, right? We fight for you, the average American. That's why we're true and that's why we're honest. All right, so anyways, let's go to another radical dragon. Just finishing off 3 weeks of vacation with my 92-year-old mom, sisters, niece, nephew, and grands. Other family and friends, new friends, walk by my mom's old home, etc. Nothing better than family you love.
Oh, preach it, sister.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And look at that. I mean, you get together, you have fun, you go out in the water, you got your family. Perfect, I love it. You got grandma there.
I love spending time with family so much. I hadn't seen my brother or his kids in a while. I hadn't seen them at all this year. And then this past weekend, we all got together at my parents' house and I was just like, oh, this is freaking heaven. I love it so much. Like, it's great to spend time with close friends and loved ones. Like, that's what life is all about. What else is life about? Well, eating good food and traveling, sure, but right at the center of what makes life worth it are the loved ones, the people that make your life special.
Yep. All right, let me do one more and then we'll go back to Anna Piratical. And this is a good one for Anna. It says, Anna, this is my Charlie. We're gonna show you the picture in a second. He's a fully tame house sparrow.
Oh, chirp, chirp.
Who's teaching me bird watching, so we have something to do together. He was handed to me as a newborn. His eyes weren't even open. I tried to take him to a wildlife rehab, but he's an invasive species. They offered me terrible solutions, so I let him invade my home instead. He loves the hummingbirds you shared.
Oh, what a silly boy.
The one thing I gotta ask you, Piratical.
So cute.
I don't know how you could answer, but where does he go to the bathroom?
Probably in its cage.
Probably.
Yeah.
But he's out and about and flying around the house. That's amazing.
Who knows? Maybe it's potty trained.
Okay, I don't know how you did it.
Birds are really smart, by the way. Like super smart.
But that is a lot of effort. So God bless your heart for that, and it paid off. Brought you tons of joy.
By the way, house finches are very social, and if they find a bird feeder, they will tell all of their friends, and they've got a ton of friends. So your bird feeder will be done like within 30 minutes, and you got to refill it again. That's my experience with the finches.
Amazing. Okay, what else you got?
All right, let's go to, I'll read several of the shorter ones so we can get more of them in. We've got BS 1954. My joy is after we received 16 inches of snow in one night. You're not starting this off well. But we didn't lose power. You know that 100,000 Americans lost power because of that winter storm? That's crazy, I would die.
I didn't lose power, I lost money because of that winter storm.
Okay, let's.
Because of the Snow Bowl, the Denver versus New England.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I bet the over and for those of you who know football, like that means more scoring, and the game ended 10-7.
Did they play in the snow?
Yeah, they played the second half of the snow.
Why is that allowed? That shouldn't be allowed.
It's football, of course. It's allowed and encouraged.
Okay, whatever. But hold on. So when it's snowing, there's like a terrible blizzard, right? And the power goes out as a result. Like, what do you do about heat?
Oh, lots of blankets. It's a real. I mean, look, like now getting serious for a second.
Can we get our crap together in this country?
Oh, like that's the problem. And you remember in the Texas storm when all the power went out, people died, and Ted Cruz had to come back from Cancun.
I know. It was a real tragedy.
They had another winter storm in Texas, and Cancun Cruz went on another vacation, and they took pictures of him on a plane.
He is such a I don't know who's slimier. Is it Newsom or Ted Cruz? They both give me the same ick.
No, Ted Cruz. Nobody can beat Ted Cruz. That's not close.
Man, why are you asleep on Newsom? What's wrong?
No, I'm not asleep on Newsom. I've got mixed feelings about Newsom, and I've got my issues with Newsom.
Mixed?
But no, look. Anyway, that's a longer story.
Okay.
But it nowhere near Ted Cruz.
Newsom's a bad guy and he runs around with a bunch of bad dudes. Okay, let's go to Black Cat Dragon, who I'm very proud of. Operation Joy. Not only have I managed to keep working out each day this year. What's the day? What's the date?
27.
27 days in a row.
That's
Black
amazing.
Cat Dragon is getting it, okay? Getting after it. Giving back to my community, I volunteered my time at a local animal shelter. Just winning, wins upon wins here.
God bless.
Incredible. Kofefe also winning. My joy this week is that I swear I found a new hair growing on my bald head. I'm making a comeback, baby.
I love that. By the way, you know where you got to go, right? Turkey.
Turkey?
Yeah, because now Turkey's the hair transplant capital of the world.
Really?
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
No, like half my Uber drivers like, oh, you're Turkish? I love Turkey. I have hair because of Turkey. Okay.
I'll say this about Turkey. They've got a lot of great jewelers over there that sell gold at a good price.
Jewelers, rugs, now even more famous, hair transplants and dentists.
Oh.
People are going to Turkey for dentistry, okay?
Is it cheaper?
Of course, but it's a combination of they do a good job and they're cheaper.
Nice.
Right? So
you're so proud. Look at you.
I
Look
am
how proud you are.
I am. It's hilarious because I'm slightly proud of like kind of an irrelevant thing, like and kind of a funny thing.
I get it. Like every once in a while, when an Armenian does something noble or something, like when Armenia was one of the first countries to come out in defense of Palestinians, I was just like, that's right.
But that's way more substantive.
Okay. True. Yeah. But dentistry is important.
But Turkey will make you hairy.
Turkey.
Yeah, beautiful hair.
All right, let me read a few more if you don't mind. All right, Salty Mama says, okay, this is sideways to feeling a couple of minutes of joy at the beginning of the day. I decided to start doing the Marie Kondo thing. Oh my God, I wanna hang out with you. I love getting rid of stuff. I like, I live for it. Keeping around me what sparks joy and letting go of the rest. It relates to what Cenk suggests. Now when I go into my junk drawer, I don't see any junk. I just see the things I often look for in there that bring me joy. And it is Salty Mama.
Oh, it is Salty Mama.
Yeah,
there was a
Salty
misspelling.
Mama.
Okay,
Yeah.
I knew it was Salty Mama.
Yeah. Oh, you. Actually, no, you don't like getting rid of stuff. You have like old TYT t-shirts from like, I don't know, 1952 or something.
I do.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. And I have like literally cartons of TYT t-shirts. But I am also a preemptive Marie Kondo by just not buying anything else.
True, yeah.
Right. I haven't bought a new jacket in a decade, I think. But anyways, here we go. I'm going back to tyrt.com/joy. Eclectic Miscellanea wrote in, for the Rebel Acts of Joy, I propose the following story. I have nothing but love for the city of Hamburg in Germany, which currently sees a lot of snow. The citizens of Hamburg built many little snowmen. They also built hamburgers.
Did they really?
Not really, but hamburgers are named after Hamburg, and hot dogs were originally called Frankfurters because they were named after Frankfurt, both from Germany. Germans are the biggest ethnic group in America, and no one knows it.
What?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Germans are the biggest ethnic group in America?
I read that a while back. I'm gonna go back and double check, but I think it was like 14% of the country is of German origin, and it's the largest ethnic group.
Are you?
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Like tons of Pennsylvania and the Midwest are secretly German and no one knows it.
Das ist Vitamin.
Schluppen das. Okay.
Hot dog is my favorite meat.
But by the way, those Germans during the war stayed loyal to America. They were America first, okay? So anyways, citizens of Hamburg built many little snowmen and figurines on the many bridges and squares of the city. Last week, a miserable man was found destroying the snowmen. Instead of whining and complaining, about 100 citizens decided and went out to massively rebuild the snow figurines. Joy and love is always stronger than misery and hate, making life better with one little act of joy at a time. Okay, so I love that, and there's some of the little snowmen. For this one, so it's a great story and eclectic. I love that you sent it in. And for this one, I decided to do a graphic. These graphics, if you want, you can pause, you print them out. Some folks have done it, but probably not this one. But anyways, here's my saying for the day: annoy people by being stubbornly joyous and optimistic.
Yes. Well, the optimistic part. You
I'm going to annoy her by being optimistic.
You can be joyful and pessimistic. You can.
A little harder, but yes, you can. Technically, you can. Okay.
I just consider.
I will allow it, as you say.
Okay, fine. As long as you allow it. I just think pessimism is the right frame of mind. So you'll be pleasantly surprised when things don't go wrong.
but so that's graphic one. Let's put that up. But Anna, I partly came up with this based on you. Why? Because like you're even allowed to get joy out of the fact that you're annoying other people. Right?
Oh, I get that joy all the time.
I know, that's why I thought of you, right? And by the way, when I was growing up, and probably still now for sure, but I used to do that all the time. I loved like annoying people a little bit, but I've now redirected that in a positive way. I'm gonna annoy you by being joyous. Oh, I don't like it, why are you happy? You shouldn't be happy. Well, what are you gonna do about it, huh? I am happy.
Yeah.
So nana boo boo.
Yeah, haters do hate it when you're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people, especially with me, and for understandable reasons, right? They'll come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, I bet you're miserable." I'm like, wrong again, Bob.
No, he's not. He's not miserable. He's like the most happy-go-lucky person ever.
Yeah.
Aside from Christian, I think Christian might be slightly more happy-go-lucky than you are.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
But again, I'm lucky in that I get to rage and vent here, so it doesn't get bottled up. And plus, I'm super lucky, and I appreciate this, that I get to try to do something that I hope helps a little bit in terms of the world, America, for you guys. I try to help in some way, so then I don't have to feel guilty. Then I could feel that it's okay for me to be happy otherwise. By the way, it's always okay to be happy. You don't need an excuse for it, and you don't need to feel guilty about it. But if you do, and apparently I did, right? So I'm in the same situation you guys, or at least I was in the same situation as everyone. I've gotten better, I've gotten more zen, etc. And partly because, hey, I'm already trying, right? So why do I have to beat myself up on my off time? I don't. It's okay to be happy. So, okay, so thank you, Eclectic, for writing that in. I've got more, but Anna, what? Oh my God, we're
out of time. Yeah, but can I just share my joy real quick?
Yeah, definitely. And then I've got to do.
No, you do that first. That's more important. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we won't be able to get to all these other ones that are so amazing. Let me do 3 that are quicker. I Smoke and Know Things said, my joy is a week ago tomorrow. I celebrated 8 years of sobriety and being opioid free.
Wow, that's amazing.
So great job. Although ironically from AKA Smart Smokey Dragon.
Okay. I love that handle.
Yeah,
I kind of wish I thought of it for myself.
I know, right? Boomer Dragon Cat wrote in saying, today I got to experience an unexpected joyful time. And it was amazing. I caught your interview, Cenk, with the I've Had It girls, Jen and Angie. I knew it would be good. I didn't realize just how good. It was like a therapy session and a much needed one. I've been really debating whether I can mentally continue following politics as closely as I have been. This interview bolsters me in ways I can't explain. Let's go get him, TYT.
Heck yeah.
And Kat, I'll take a stab at why that interview affected you in the way that it did. Because it was, for me, I'll speak for myself, it was cathartic to see people who had supported Hillary Clinton and Biden and those guys go, we've woken up, we were wrong. And it's not about a wrong and right, it's just that they finally joined like us in realizing what reality is. And it's so good to welcome them home. And it's so good not to be hated by people that are on your own side. Like the whole time we've been trying to help them. Like no, but Bernie would win. Bernie, it's not just that Bernie's better, he said he would win. We're trying to help you. Oh, you're for Trump. Oh. So now that I've had women and so many other shows are like, yeah, it turns out the Bernie guys were trying to help us. Oh, it's a huge relief.
It really is, yeah. I agree.
All right, last one, Jack Callahan. My joy this week is a fond memory. This past weekend, Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead died. I remember seeing them live in Portchester, New York, when I became 18 years old. So in 1971, I went with my younger brother. It was such a joyous event. The concert lasted 7 hours.
Of course it did.
And Jack's a musician. And I never had seen such massive joyfulness. Of course, the theater was engulfed in weed, and girls were taking off their tops. But damn, I've never seen so many happy faces.
I bet you did.
Yeah, I'm not sure that those things are not connected. But anyway, it was infectious. I will never forget such good vibes and the fact that in the right hands, joy is beautiful.
I love that atmosphere of, music bringing people together. Cause like, you have people coming together from all walks of life, enjoying an art form, and you just feel so human, right? Like you feel so connected to everyone, and it's such a great thing to do. Go out there and watch a show, guys.
All right, now the last thing I'm gonna do is triggered by Jack's point there. I'm gonna show you how to triple your happiness. I promised it earlier.
Oh.
Okay, so this is graphic
Better
too.
not be snake oil.
No, and everything is take it with a grain of salt. Do the best you can. It might work for you, it might not work for you, but give it a shot, see what happens. So my theory is that you can triple your happiness by enjoying the present, the past, and the future. So how do you do that? You could be mindful of the present, be nostalgic about great memories from the past, like Jack just shared with us.
Oh, the 90s.
And be hopeful about the future.
I don't know about that.
Okay, so I knew I'd lose that on the third one. Okay, but first of all, I believe that there's a rational reason for optimism. The world has gotten much better over the last 200 years. Yes, we have gone up and down, and the downs have been terrible. But overall, life expectancy, economy, what we're able to eat, in health, in so many different ways, the world has gotten way better over the last 200 years. So there's a rational reason for it, but it also makes you happier to look forward to the future instead of dreading the future. And I didn't know what people meant by being mindful. I thought it was like a hippie kind of thing before. And remember, I'm kind of a meathead too. Like I grew up as a Jersey meathead, like, oh yeah, I've been mindful, what does that mean? Okay. But I realize now, oh wait, that's what I do. All it means is focus. So like if you're having a great meal, but you don't even realize you're having a great meal because you're talking or you're reading or you're doing something else and you're distracted, well, you wasted that great meal.
Don't waste that meal.
No, focus on it. So enjoy every bite. And by the way, you'll eat less if you enjoy every bite because you'll feel fuller because you're concentrating on the food and you'll get way more enjoyment out of it. So that's one example of how to be mindful, but you could be mindful about anything you're doing. Focus on what you're doing, concentrate on it, and you'll enjoy it more. And then finally on the past, this is the one that is the most clear. So nostalgia is an amazing thing. And I'm so lucky because I was born nostalgic, right? But if you have that instinct already, dive into it. If you don't, give it a shot, see how you like it. Like we all have bad memories, we all have good memories, right? Screw the bad memories, who needs them? Throw them away, okay? If they're useful in some way, fine, you could get them out of the trash heap and use them for something. But there's no winning when you focus on bad memories. But when you focus on good memories, but you're in the present, well, I just doubled my winnings. I'm mindful in the present, and when I get a chance, I'm nostalgic about the past. All of us have had terrible things happen to us. All of us had great things happen to us. If you keep remembering the great things, it's the gift that keeps on giving because it puts you in a happy mood at that moment. Does that make sense, Anna?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, all right, so go ahead and triple your happiness. All right, we love you guys. Old School's coming up at 9:30 Eastern. Michael Schur and I will do it. I have yet another airplane story. How is it possible? And I have one of my most important pet peeves. So it's a classic Old School. I think you guys are gonna love it. That's just for the members when it's live. So hit the join button below or tyt.com/join, and we'll do that tonight at 9:30. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
The key for me is to keep expectations low.